Did you say 2,000 to 3,000 years old?
I'm going to show folks some things that is proper grammar that is amazing or amazing is. That's where I have to ask my wife to help me on my grammar sometimes.
So things are amazing.
Things that are amazing.
Are amazing.
There we go. Things, plural. And I'm going to tell them something that's about to come to town that most of the people in Cleveland don't know about. And then I'm going to share with people about making additional income. Something has happened most people do not know about. And I might have a few folks that will watch you that will be able to take something and make a lot of income from it that they're not aware of. It's going to be a good day. By the way, thanks for having me again.
I'm glad. I was thinking earlier, it's been 8 months since you've been here.
Has it been that long?
It's been 8 months.
Wow.
A lot of water has gone under the bridge.
Yeah, sure has. COVID is basically over. We're getting back now. Physically, wow, did I ever get hit? I had COVID twice. And you have the fatigue dip. Yeah. That was my side effect. My side effect was not what loss of taste, or some people have different side effects. Mine seemed to be having a dip during the day, like right in the afternoon. You'll be here and you'll just bottom out. And I have my wife in our VOE offices has prepared me about a couple years ago, a beautiful office that has a kitchen and some things in it. And I'll just go sit down in a chair that leans back, and I have to actually do that. I'm not sleepy. It's not that you're sleepy, but I have to do that, and then you kind of rejuvenate a little bit. But we're back kind of in full swing now. My schedule for August, Charlie's over here, by the way. Charlie over in the corner, Charlie. My right-hand man, my sidekick, Charlie.
Has Charlie got a new hairstyle?
No, he just cut it and spiked it a little bit. He likes to change it up every now and then. But he's been with me now 34 years, isn't it?
When was the first day y'all met?
The first time was it the revival in Adamsville? Yeah. The old church.
Yeah, been back in the early
83. Right after Pam and I were married, we went to the Adamsville Church of God, and it was in the old shotgun church, we call it. And I never will forget, it was jammed, packed out with people.
Where was that at? What's town?
Outside of Birmingham. Mm-hmm. Would you say north of Birmingham? Is that right? West of Birmingham. And so we had a big meeting there. And Charlie, were you about 18 then? 19 maybe?
Yes.
Is that right? He was about that age. He was a very good basketball player, by the way, and he still is. He began to go to our meetings. He would travel. He was a single young man at the time, and he would get some of the guys from the church. And anytime I was in Alabama, within, we'd just say a 2-hour radius at least, they would try to come when they could and come on the weekends. And I had an office. Some of you in town, some folks in town will know this. Broad Street, 255 Broad Street. I remember the address, and it was a small 2,000 square foot brick building, and that's where our office was. And I had a man that was working for me then, Bob Hines, and Bob got another job, and I had no one to take care of the mail and the orders that were coming in, which was nothing compared to today. And to call Charlie, I said, "You need a job?" "What do you mean?" He said, "I got an open job. Why don't you come up here?" Because I'd called him out in revival in Anniston, Alabama, before this, and prophesied over him that the Lord said, this is in front of everybody, you're going to work for me one day. And I remembered that. So he's been with me 34 years.
But how did you know him then?
Just by him coming to the meetings.
Just saying hello.
But I lined up about 6 men. I said, you come up here, I have a word for you. And a lot of people don't understand that thing of a word for you, but it's where you get an inspiration that you just know that you're supposed to share something with them that the Lord's given you. A feeling? It's a gut feeling, and it can happen to anybody. I think many times people that sometimes say, "Well, I don't know that God speaks today," they actually have it happening at times. And they'll be encouraging someone and not realizing that's the Spirit of God that's leading them in those words to say. And they may look at it and view it different theologically or with theological terms from a Pentecostal or charismatic. But Baptist people have it happen. I know Catholic people that I've met that the Lord's given, they get a lot of visions and dreams, the Catholic people do, because they believe in that, But we met, and Charlie came to work for me, and I can remember so many, funny story, true story. We would actually preach long revivals, and Charlie would run the office. There were times we were so behind on the mail that he and I would go till 10, 11, 12 at night. We'd come in the morning all night. It was just him and I, basically. Pam had an office there. And you don't want to tell about me burning up Pam's vacuum cleaner, so we're not going to get into that. So anyway, Pam and I had been married, 4 years, 5 by that time? Probably 5 years. 6 maybe? So she called me. It was 10 o'clock, and we're just working. We're working nonstop to get the mail out. And she said, well. She said, how you doing? I said, honey, I am so sorry. I'm not home. I'm working with Charlie. She said, well, it's a pity. I said, what's a pity? She said, I just bought a new negligee and I have to go to bed with myself. I said, I'll see you in a minute. I said, I'm out of here. Of course, he was a single guy. And he just kind of, I said, I'm out of here. You'll understand one day. So I just went home, So Pam knew how to get me out of the office. She knew, and I'm not going to go any further than that. We'll keep it PG right now. But so he's been, I want to say to him, he's probably the best friend I have. And you have people that come into your life that are friends, but they're only friends temporarily, or they're only there for a season and then they're gone. And that happens to everybody. But he has stuck with us. And I believe Charlie will be one of those that will be with us when either I go to be with the Lord or we'll be raptured out of here together when the Lord comes,
If you go before him, he'll write the book.
Oh,
the real Perry song.
No, here's what
the Perry song that I know.
Yeah, here's what they're going to do. My son teases all the time about this. I say all the time. He used to do it worse because he's a real cut up. He said, well, if anything happens to Dad, I'm going to the vault in there of all the messages that they haven't heard him preach, that we know he's taught, and I'm going to do the commercial on TV. Here's the 6 messages by Perry Stone you've never heard. Order them today. I mean, they tease me about that all the time. So, but it's amazing, not talking about going to be with the Lord, but some men do, and their ministry carries on through their family or through other individuals for many, many years. I have watched Joel Osteen. Joel Osteen took his father's ministry. Did you know Joel had never preached one time? After his dad died was his first sermon he ever preached.
Is that right? Where's he out of? Atlanta?
No, he's Houston area. Houston, largest church in the United States. You know him
personally?
Oh, yeah. Great family. I've been in the green room with them, and they've told me they watch our television program. His wife watches it, April, his sister. The whole family watches the Manifest telecast. He told me about that. But he's just so down to earth, such a nice guy. And it's no wonder he has so many people that keep up with him, because he has a simple word everybody can understand. My challenge, it's not a problem, it's a blessing, but my challenge is I love to study very deep. I love to get into things that are deep, that teach me something. And so I like to teach that to the people. So for me, pastors have told me when we would go to do a meeting, one pastor in West Virginia said, I've picked up 150 good people, very good people, from your coming to my church. And either they came to know the Lord or they just became a part of the church. And I said, well, that's great. And he says, there's one thing about your people. And I've heard this many, many years, and Charlie knows what I'm about to say. The pastors have said, the people that come into my church through your meeting are not gossipers, are not backbiters, are not critics, are word people, and they love each other. And I said, well, that's the greatest compliment you can give me. And I said, let me tell you why. If they sit under my ministry, I teach against unforgiveness. I teach against gossip. I teach against backbiting. I've been a victim of that. And I know what it's like for someone to absolutely tell a 100% lie on you and it be repeated as though it's a fact. But once they've said it, you can't take it back. And I just made up my mind years ago. If people will pray, God will tell them. He'll tell them what to do. And I can't chase down everything somebody says about me. And, there are legal things you can do under certain situations, which you can do, and sometimes you may want to do. But it's up to God. And my wife has made a statement, and she's made this for a long time. She said, if I know the truth and God knows the truth, that's all that matters, because everything else will come out on the day of judgment. So best thing for all of us to do, or the people watching me to do, is to keep your own heart and spirit right at all times. Get anything that's in you out of you, so that when you stand before the Lord, you can hear him say, well done to you. Don't worry about everybody else standing before God. Don't worry about what they've done, their belligerence, their attitude. They will answer to him individually for that. So years ago, I received a great revelation on that. So I've tried to keep my mouth shut. You know what I mean? And let it go.
No man bridleth the tongue, the Bible says.
Yeah, if you don't bridle it, your religion's in vain. That's what James said. So these are things you have to mature in. You have to learn in dealing with people the way that we have dealt with millions of people.
I don't know if on a practical basis it matters anyway. Do you?
In the larger scheme of things, the thing that's difficult as a minister, and I could talk about Jensen Franklin's battles he's been through with family members and some things like that, some other pastors, and they tell their own stories, and I'm not going to tell their stories. They use it on their TV program and so on. The most difficult thing for a minister to deal with is not anything that's true, because you can approach and deal with anything that's true. It's anything that is a innuendo, slander, misrepresentation. It's hard to deal with that because it's just something that's always been around since the beginning of time. Nero burnt Rome at about 7/8 of Circus Maximus down. Or he didn't do it personally, he had someone to do it. Well, when the Senate came after him, he blamed it on Paul, and the early church believed Paul did it. And I can prove it because in Paul's last letter, he said, all Asia has forsaken me. Now here's the man, spent his whole life preaching, beat up for the gospel, left dead, shipwrecked, and he gets to the end of his ministry, and an emperor tells a lie. Now, they didn't have internet newspapers and all that television back then, but it spread nonetheless. And the people in the early church, can you believe what Paul did? Did you hear what Paul did? And how sad that a man would spend his whole life in ministry and get to the end of it. And a wicked emperor who was killing Christians, that Christians would believe the words coming out of an evil emperor more than they would believe the words of the Apostle Paul.
They did.
But they did. And he left the world saying, all Asia has forsaken me. And so that gives you an example. And there are people who, I think sometimes they're assigned by demons and they don't realize it. And I think there's other times that they just yield and open the door to it. But there are people who are so belligerent toward the Holy Spirit, but they would never discern that they were belligerent. And you can vex the Spirit of God, you can grieve the Spirit of God, and the worst sin, unforgivable sin, is to blaspheme the Spirit of God. You don't want to do that. No one should want to do that. So that's why a person has to be careful, and power of life and death are in the tongue. Just be careful what you say. Even when you speak out on a daily basis, well, I'm afraid of this and I'm afraid of that, and or what if this happens? That creates fear. It opens you up your whole body, your physical body, to fear. There's a doctor in Mexico that studied this, and he said when a person loses their temper, that their immune system shuts down for 6 hours. So if you're a very angry person, you're going to weaken your immune system. If you start confessing fear, your body shuts down certain areas in a fear response. And everything, your mind gets messed up, your thinking gets messed up because of fear. And so all of that's a part of, dealing with life and learning how to get through situations that we have.
We have to take the Bible and relate it to our life today.
Yeah.
Or what good is it?
Yeah, everything, even when you read a narrative in the Bible like a story, what a minister's job is to take the Bible stories, the whole Bible, and to say, okay, here's a story that happened, but what does that mean to me today? I'll give you one example. This is just coming to my mind. In Mark 5, where that woman that had the issue of blood went to touch the border of Jesus, and he said, who touched me? The hem of his garment. And they said, everybody's touching you. What do you mean, who touched you? And he said, I felt virtue. And that word there is dunamis, or power. It's the same word used in Acts 1 where it says you shall receive power after the Holy Spirit comes on you. He had something. He had an energy of the Holy Spirit that left him and went into the woman, and she was healed. Now, I read that one day and I realized something. There were 3 people touching him that day. There was the accidental touch. Those were people in the crowd bumping up against him. Yeah. They didn't, excuse me, didn't mean to do that. Then there was the curiosity touch. There were people that were grabbing him by the arm or patting him on the back. But see, the accidental people never pulled any anointing out of him. And the people that were just touching him to see if he was real, or just to say, yeah, I got to touch Jesus, they pulled no anointing out of him. But the woman needed a miracle and had faith. And when she snuck up behind him, because she had a hemorrhage, she was not legally supposed to be in the crowd there according to the law of Moses. So when she touched his garment, her faith pulled the anointing, and he didn't even see her do it. He said, whoa, who touched me? I felt virtue leave me. And so that's how you take scriptures in the Bible and say, how does it become practical to me today? And the message there would be, your faith always touches the Lord. When you pray, your faith always reaches him. So that would be the message. So as ministers, and a lot of that of being able to do that takes, for whether it's a pastor or an evangelist or someone in ministry, a teacher, it takes many years of time to be able to learn the scriptures. And that's why a minister, my dad, and I know in the older days, smaller church pastors had to work jobs. They all worked secular jobs for their family's income. And my dad had to work a lot of, when I was a kid, I mean, he had every kind of job. He even volunteered on the ambulance team, I say ambulance team, what do you call it? Emergency team, to take people in the ambulances to the hospital. And so Dad worked hard, but I also know how much he wanted to pray and study, and it took away from that. And so that's why ministers, such as myself, we go full time into what we do, because right there's the guy that can tell you this is not an exaggeration. Charlie, what do I do from about 8 o'clock till 5 to 6 o'clock every day? Tell them what to do.
Study and stay in your office and study.
I'm by myself almost all day. Only if, here's Charlie. Well, I'm not going to tell the people, but Charlie has a certain knock, and I know it's Charlie, right? And Charlie comes in. But I'm there, 99.9% of the time, all by myself, doing, studying, reading, working on things.
Is there anything
because you have to do that to be able to minister effectively and bring a now word from the Lord. You have to be able to hear from the Lord. If you're going to hear from the Lord, you got to get alone with him.
And you can't preach the same message all the time.
Oh, I never do. Even on Sunday mornings, people will say, we'll go to a church that has, believe it or not, I've been to churches with 4 services on Sunday morning. And I would tell them, now the next service will be different. The pastors would sometimes say, don't tell them that. We have to get this crowd in to get the next crowd. And if these people stay, we'll have no room.
Yeah.
So, but I never do, let me say this, very seldom do I preach the same message everywhere I go. I just have never done that, because I like to say, okay, I'm going to Hawaii, which I am. I'm going to Alaska, which I did. I'm going to Florida. All the needs of those areas are different. All the situations that they deal with are completely different. So you have to know what is the need of these people in this area. Some people, there's rank poverty in cities. Some people, there's crime in the cities. They're living in fear. So you want to focus on, okay, what does God say about fear of living in the cities in the last days? What do we need to know about that? So to be effective, to reach the people, you have to have the mind of the Lord, which comes through spending time with him. And anybody who's ever worked for me, even the people that aren't there now, will tell you, if they're honest, that's what I do all day long.
In that vein, do you think Matthew was talking when he was writing as, and the audience was the Jews?
Yeah. The Luke, who wrote Luke in the book of Acts, there's a question that he may have been a Gentile physician, but the audience of all the writers were predominantly, to begin with, to a Jewish audience. And then when Paul was grafted into the covenant through receiving Christ, he wrote, if we count the book of Hebrews, Dr. Arrington and I, we're good friends, so he believes that someone else wrote Hebrews beside Paul, or maybe it was dictated by a scribe. I personally believe Paul wrote it, because I believe Paul had the knowledge and the skill to write in that detailed language to the Jewish people, because he was a Pharisee. That was my opinion. So, there's a difference of opinion. But Paul wrote at least 13 books, possibly 14 with Hebrews, if we assume Hebrews. And when you read his writings, he writes many times with Gentile thought toward the Gentiles. Because in the book of Galatians, he said, Paul is the apostle to the circumcised, and I'm an apostle to the uncircumcised. And so God brought him in to the covenant, knowing the Gentiles would come into the covenant in Acts 10, which is Cornelius. And that's why they needed a voice and a representative.
But that speaks to what you're saying. When you go to Hawaii, it's a different message than it. Yeah. Because he was doing a little different message to the people.
Yeah, well, the basic gospel is the same. But the needs, let's say you go to some islands, idolatry is very big, okay? You go to another area, and you'll find out, for example, that if you go to New York, I mean, the sexual sins and the drugs in New York are massive. So it's another type of spirit that people deal with there versus, let's say, a small town in the South. You know, biggest thing about small towns like Cleveland, I've said it for years, it's a great town to live in. I think we'd agree.
Sure.
We've got good people here. But in a smaller town, you have a problem with people, more gossip.
Yeah.
You know, and it's among people that maybe don't work or don't have jobs, or maybe older people that have more time on their hands. Did you hear? Did you hear?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only thing. But that's everywhere. It's not just here. It's not just Georgia, Virginia. It's the human nature. You know?
But we don't have a problem with idolatry now, do we?
Not so much, unless it's just people who idolize their money and their money becomes their God and everything is about money. You do have greed and things like that. But by and large, having been here, we've lived here 41 years, and we have a lot of friends of all levels, you know, in this town.
Where were y'all from originally?
Pam is from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, University of Alabama, Roll Tide. So that's what you have to say when you're from Alabama or Auburn, War Eagle, one of the two. She's Roll Tide. We're going to a game. In fact, we're going to 2 games soon. When is 1st of September weekend? Yeah. So you may be airing this by then.
Yeah.
But we're going to go to a game there. We have some friends that get us tickets, and we sit with them. Then we're going on her birthday. I take her every birthday. I will not go anywhere on her birthday. Her birthday present from me every year is we stay at the hotel where the team stays. So we get to see all the players. We get to see Coach Saban. And sometimes I get to go to the chapel service. Now, if people were with me, they can't come. You know, they don't let everybody in. But I know that the head guy, Jeremiah Castile, is a very close friend of mine. And when he knows I'm coming, we didn't do it under COVID, but I got to, you know, pray over the guys and prayed over, good gracious, the running back, and prayed over Tua and his brother, and just, it's a lot of fun.
Are you a big football fan?
More college, definitely more college. I really, and so what I'm going to say, we have a partner that has a ministry partner that has a booth, and they always save us 2 tickets. So we get to go on her birthday, and we get to sit in this. In fact, our booth is right beside the Bear Bryant family. And so we get to watch the game from the booth. Now, if you've never been in a booth is so much fun because you have a private restroom. You don't have to go stand in line and walk a mile. And they feed you all day long. I mean, it's like sitting in a restaurant. But she only has 2 available tickets every year that she reserves for us. And so that's a great blessing. So that's my day. I've traveled so much. I traveled so many weekends for so many years that when we began to slow down a little bit, especially when COVID hit, I made up my mind I was going to have if I am free on a weekend, which I am more now because I purposely choose to do that. Now my schedule's getting busy, and Pam keeps saying, don't get that busy schedule again. And I'm trying not to, but I always have a date weekend with my wife. It is all about me and her. That's it. And we go places, and we'll go eat at a restaurant, or we'll go to a ball game or something like that.
Where would you go to a restaurant?
A restaurant. Did I say restaurant?
No, restaurant.
Oh yeah.
Where would you go? Where would you go to a restaurant? Where would you go to a restaurant in Cleveland?
In Cleveland,
or would you go to Chattanooga on a Saturday night?
On a Saturday night, Cleveland's too packed. I'm telling you, these people eat here.
They love to eat.
More than any town I've ever been in, and I've been to a lot of church towns. But I'm telling you, I went out today up here to Foolin's to meet my wife.
Yeah. Every
parking lot space as far back as you want to go is taken. And I said, man, COVID's really over. I mean, they have come out of the woodwork. Nobody's got a mask on. COVID must be over. You know, everybody's going out again, which is good. But we don't get to go there often because it's pricey, but the Brazilian steakhouse is good. And like if we have Middle Eastern friends come in, that's where they want to go. Yes, and I have a friend who comes from the Middle East, and Charlie knows who I'm talking about. I'm not going to name him. He's a multimillionaire. And every time he comes to town, he says, brother, you and Pam, we go to Ruth's Chris. He goes to Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. I said, are you paying? He said, yes, of course, brother. I said, I'm going. Because that's a pricey place. But we have some very close friends that when they come to town or we go into their city, and most of them are, not all of them, but most of them are very high-level business people that have been very, very blessed in business. And they will always say, come on, we're going out to such and such a place. One of the things my wife said about traveling, I said, what do you, she wouldn't appreciate me saying this, but I said, what do you appreciate the most about we've got to travel. She said, well, I enjoy meeting the people, and I do enjoy the churches and the towns. Like we just got back from Alaska and did 13 services in 7 days. Got to go fishing for salmon, caught this big salmon. So that was just great. Beautiful place. Very restful, very relaxing area, even though you're doing all the services. But she said, I like to travel because of the food. She said, because here in Cleveland, you know what you've got, but you go to these different areas and it's a lot of times different.
Yeah.
And she's almost a chef. So she is a master of cooking. Charlie, is she a master of cooking? I'm talking big time. So she likes to go and try different things out in different places and sometimes picks up some good ideas. I have to tell you, though, that probably our favorite food is Cajun.
Where would you get Cajun around here?
Believe it or not, the Cajun lady up.
Oh, yeah, in Polk County.
But let me tell you, you better go at the right time because it's packed out.
Yeah.
You can't hardly get in. I mean, they will stand outside for 30 minutes to
What
get
do
in.
you usually get there?
The crawfish etouffee, and if she has the crab claws, she cooks them in a sauce. You can drink the sauce. I mean, I know it's got a ton of butter. It's probably the worst thing. It's probably the worst thing you could get. I mean, all the Cajun people, when they get to be 60, are having heart attacks down in Louisiana. You know, I shouldn't say that because some of them live to be very, very old. I don't know how they do it. But
Would
Charlie,
you go on a Saturday night?
yeah, but you have to, you know, it's going to take some time to get in normally. Now,
Would you ever stay at home on Saturday night and just stay
oh,
home?
absolutely. We do that. Sometimes we do that. We will get in, and the reason we do is the grandbabies live beside us, and so they come over. And I'm getting ready to have another grandson. Not another, my first grandson in October, and she loves spending time. I love spending times with them. You know, I'll tell you a funny story about that. A little personal thing. One of the things, being a diabetic, and I've struggled with that over the years, and we're trying to get that under control. And with the medical help, Lord's help, of course we are. But I like yogurt. But my problem is I always like the kind that had the sugar in it with the fruit, you know, because that's like 28 grams, which is very high for me. So now they got the low-fat sugar, and you can go to Kroger and you can get the sugar that's the artificial flavor, but it's not there's bad artificial flavor and there's not so bad artificial, right? And I try to be careful. But anyway, so the girls, one is going on 4 and one is 2. And here's their thing: Pop's yogurt, Pop's yogurt. They walk in the door, Pop's yogurt, Pop's yogurt. So when they eat, I have to give them a yogurt, me a yogurt, and I eat 2. That's my dessert. And literally, in 1 week's time, I went through about 35 of those.
Golly.
Yes, sir. See, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. No, it wasn't that many. I said 35. 25 of those in a week. And I told the board, I said, you may have to bump my salary a little bit because these girls are going to bankrupt me eating yogurt, man, you know? But do you have grandkids?
I don't have grandkids.
Grandkids are amazing. And you can't even... I heard people say it for years. They say you love your kids, but there's something about your grandkids. And I think what it is they are just for having fun. You had to raise your kids. You had to discipline your kids. You had to say, go to your room, and you had to, you fuss with them. Your grandbabies, you just spoil them. You just absolutely have fun with them. You take them places. And then here's the good part. You can send them home. So it's like Pam says, okay, I'm tired. Y'all can go now. And they have to go home.
I think it's far enough removed from your. It may be that grandkids are far enough removed from your control that you don't worry so much about the outcome.
No, that's true. That is really true because with your kids, you're constantly. They're in school. How are they doing? Are they getting with the right people? Are they being influenced? And you do think that about your grandchildren, but the weight of it is on the parents.
Right.
If they're good parents, so you don't feel that weight. And you can just get them stuff. And my oldest one, she's 4. She's into this thing called Paw Patrol. And any parent watching or grandparent watching, Paw Patrol are the cartoon dogs. So the oldest one, she looks like Shirley Temple. Remember Shirley Temple with the curly hair?
Yeah.
Nothing but curly hair. And she'll say, Pop, let's play Paw Patrol. So I have to put her on the table in a restaurant. I have to take a napkin and say, ladies and gentlemen, we're at the Paw Patrol convention in Cleveland, Tennessee, and we have somebody with us. Who is it? Give us a clue. Chase. Let me see, is it Chase? And she'll go, she'll say, Chase is on the case. And she starts, right in the restaurant, man. Yeah. But it's a hoot. They are so much fun. And so
it's just a whole nother thing, isn't it?
it's another thing. But, in your older age, and I think everybody can say this, you're not as temperamental. You chilled out more.
Yeah.
You're just laid back more. Things that used to really get under your skin, it's like, man, what's the big deal? I don't care anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You do care, but it's like what used to just say upset you, make you say, I'm going to go. It's like, whatever, whatever, all the drama, whatever, you just get to that point. It goes right off your top of your head and rolls right off,
Let me tell you about Capstar Bank. They're located in Nashville, Hendersonville, Gallatin, Athens, Madisonville, Sweetwater, Etowah, and in Cleveland at 950 25th Street and 3855 North Ocoee Street. I've used them. I like them. Give them a try. They're no problem. Have you ever thought about some things you used to teach that now you don't believe after you've done more study? Is there anything like that now that you've delved into? You say, I'm not sure if I believe that.
I think the only thing I maybe differ with, and this is going to be very controversial, what I'm going to say. You have Arminianism and Calvinism, which to break
What'd
it
you
down.
call it?
Arminianism and Calvinism. I hope I'm saying that right because sometimes I get my words. Okay. The Baptists, basically, have you heard the belief once saved, always saved, right?
That's more of the primitive Baptist.
Yeah,
sort.
and the Pentecostals are a person can backslide, okay? Well, in the Pentecostal church, we used to say, well, we believe in backsliding, and people practice it all the time. It was a joke almost. It was a serious thing, but it was. And in the Baptist church, if a person were to get saved, and I'm not saying all Baptists, but I'm saying that this is
the general thought.
Right, I'm going to make a point here. That's why I'm saying this. But they would say, because my number one audience is Baptist on television. And, Ron Phillips is a Southern Baptist pastor. He's one of my counselors.
That's sort of odd, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, he's...
That's your number one.
Yeah, but they love the Word.
Yeah.
That's why. They love the Word. They love preaching. Yeah. So if I were to say to my Baptist friend, well, what about that guy that was in the older church and now he's not living for God, he's out drinking? And they would say, well, he was never really saved. Now I'm talking about not everybody, so don't call me and complain if you disagree with this.
Just as a general rule.
A general rule. So I have learned if you take the word repentance means to change your thinking to the point of it changing your behavior, that if the person goes to church, but their behavior didn't change, they never really repented. So honestly, they're right about that. And I used to think, no, that's crazy. They were saved. But then on the other hand, the full gospel people, when they talk about backsliding, it's when I grew up, it was like if you thought something, you're backslid. If you said a bad word, you're backslid. And that's not true because God gives people a space to repent. You can read that in the book of Revelation. So my idea as a kid was there's an angel in heaven, and if I thought something wrong, he erases my name. After I repent, he writes it back in. I mean, look, the world would keep angels busy with erasers if that was the truth. You know what I mean? And so I started studying the idea of backsliding. Faith begins this way. With the heart, you believe. Okay, first your ears, you hear. Then you believe with your heart. Then you confess with your mouth. Then your lifestyle changes. If you take that in reverse, what begins to happen is your lifestyle starts reverting back, your confession changes, and your heart becomes hardened. So going away from God is the reversal process of coming to God and becoming a child of God. So if you start reversing that out and your confession changes and your heart becomes hardened and your behavior goes back, you have technically gone into backsliding, okay? But to say that, your name's in, your name's out, and your name can be blotted out, but to say it's in and say it's out, God determines that based on the reversal process of a person's life, of how their heart condition and their confession condition. Because there are people that, Paul uses the term apostate, who have knowledge, who turned against the knowledge, and now, the terrible proverb, but it's not terrible, it's in the Bible, but it's gross. The dog returns to its vomit, the pig goes back into the pig pen. That's what it's talking about there, is turning back on God. So your question with my long answer is, I'm more understanding of your relationship with Christ and how it's a lot harder to lose out with Him than people think. You have to choose it. You have to want it. You have to go against your confession. So it's not a matter of, well, I thought something, I'm out of here. And I grew up in Pentecost scared to death because I thought that's how it was.
Were they more along that line?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness. You went to church and felt worse than when you left because of how they preached to you.
Scared to death.
Not everybody.
Yeah.
Please don't.
Scared.
My dad was great.
Yeah.
My dad was a loving man. But in the early days, there was not a lot of love. And I'm going to be honest with you. And I grew up around this. I know.
They'd bend the Bible and hit it on their hand.
And just condemn people all the time over sometimes over silly stuff.
Yeah.
That later they changed the rules, but in the day, I shouldn't say this because I'm in a Church of God town, but I have the Church of God minutes from the 1900s, 1919. Very good people, very godly people, very spiritual people. But I was reading it the other day, and in the day, they told their members you couldn't drink Coca-Cola because Coca-Cola was in a brown bottle, and I understand this, okay, the appearance of evil, and liquor was in a brown bottle. So if you're drinking Coke, they may think you're drinking liquor. But the funny part, now this was hilarious, and I showed it to my wife. They said, really? And I said, yes, chewing gum was wrong. They said, we ask our members not to chew chewing gum. Okay, now that's legalism. Mm-hmm. But now again, they were sincere people who loved God. They were very close to the Lord.
They meant well, right?
That's the whole point. They meant well. They didn't want to do anything to offend the Lord, which you can appreciate that. Mm-hmm. But what happened is so many people ran away from church. I mean, they were condemned for the least little thing. And that's not the Lord. The Lord does not. How can I win somebody if I'm running them away all the time? And if you would have asked me the greatest thing I've learned in that system of some believe this way and some believe that way is the greatest of these is love. Love God and love people. Keep your heart pure before God. That's what God requires of you. To love God and love your neighbor as yourself. If you do that, you fulfill everything else. You don't need a list of 10 commandments if you do those two things. If you love God, you won't do evil against God. If you love people, you won't do evil against people. Brilliant idea. Let's put a mark up there for that.
That's
the key to the whole thing.
Isn't that sort of what Jesus was saying on the Sermon on the Mount?
Yeah.
I mean, he was talking to the
common people,
to the Jews.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was sort of a liberal. He was saying exactly what you're saying.
Well, when he came to the traditions of the people, they had exalted the traditions above the Word of God. And buddy, the Pharisees couldn't stand him because he'd say, "You say, but I say," and "You say, but I say," and they're like, "Ugh, we're gonna get him," because he wasn't coming against God's Word. He was coming against their man-made traditions.
Were they coming from the law of Moses?
No. So, for example, thou shalt do no work on the Sabbath. But Jesus said, yet, if your donkey is stuck in a ditch on the Sabbath day, you'll pull him out. Is that not work? He prayed for people on the Sabbath and healed them. They hated that. You're working on the Sabbath day. You're breaking the law. You are not of God. He said, wait a minute. You got a donkey in a ditch. Are you going to leave him there till the next day? No. And that's what bothered them.
He was almost being, what do they call that, facetious? Or what do they call it?
Well,
is that the word?
Yeah, well, he was just
sarcastic.
Yeah, he was being sarcastic because they were so hypocritical.
Such as if you look upon someone with lust, then you've pluck your eye out.
Yeah, yeah. So in other words, if you put all this together about the ministry of Christ, he was breaking the traditions. He wasn't breaking the law, but he was breaking the traditions they had made up out of the law. For example, did you know that in the traditions of the elders in Jesus' day, if you spat on a rock or spit on a rock and you rubbed it with your foot, you didn't break the law. If you spat on the ground, dirt, and you rubbed it with your foot, you made a rut, which is breaking the law of plowing. All because you made a rut. No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So that's what Jesus is dealing with. And we don't read all these traditions that they had. But I took a course from Dallas Theological Seminary, and I was blown away at just the traditions. A woman was not allowed to look in a brass mirror on the Sabbath day for fear that she'd see a gray hair and want to pluck it out.
So that would be being proud or something?
No, it would be the law of plucking.
Oh.
Plucking a gray hair was against the law, but it was not in the Bible. It was not in the Torah. It was in the traditions of the elders. So growing up, with all respect to my elders and forefathers who were godly people, there were times when the traditions of maybe what you wear, how your hair should look, were being exalted more above what the basic teaching of the Word of God.
We're still doing it, in other words.
And there's some areas that still have that, you know.
And maybe we don't know what they are.
And the thing, what's sad though, is I know for a fact that some of what was taught ran people away from church that will never go back to church. I want to be careful here because this is a relative, but my great grandfather, as we call him, on my mother's side of the family, was so strict that his son went to play basketball and he went and got him and whipped him for playing. This is the 1930s, 40s. Whipped him for playing basketball because he said it was a worldly sport. Worldly, can't be worldly. He was playing marbles and he whipped him for playing marbles. That man got turned away from church at 18. He was so angry. And he viewed it as though serving God was a bondage. Well, the tradition was bondage, but not serving God. But to him it was. Never went back to church and died without getting ready to go back to church in his 70s. He'd heard me preach on TV because he was related to me. And he had a heart attack and died before he could ever go back. He was going back that Sunday, never made it. It breaks my heart because I realize that.
Could he be like the thief on the cross?
I hope so. I really do. I hope
you don't know, yay or nay?
I don't know. I don't know, but I hope so. My wife's mother was raised in and hers was not Pentecostal or full gospel. Hers was Baptist, but her parents were very strict Mountain Baptist, and you know there was no and the Pentecostals taught this: no makeup, no slacks,
no
jewelry, no wings, no nothing, just very plain, which is fine if that's what you want to be.
Yeah.
But that was kind of told how you had to be. And when she got out of church, very hard upbringing, whipped all the time for every little thing, not much love in the family. In fact, she did not know love at all. And when I married Pam, this is Pam's mother, when I married and got to be around her years later, I didn't see her till years later actually, be around her. When I would hug her, she would actually go like this and put her hands beside her. She didn't know how to even receive a hug. That's how bad it was growing up. Her daddy never said he loved her. Her daddy never hugged her. And when you would go up and hug her, you could tell it was so awkward to her. I'm not saying she didn't like it.
All in the name of religion, I guess.
Yeah, but it was all in the name of religion, exactly. And so when the denominations began to change a little bit of some of the traditions, and they begin to say, well, you know, the hair thing, that's fine. And, you know, a little bit of makeup, you know, is okay. It's as long as it's not overdone. Yeah. And, you know, you can wear the wedding band or whatever. And a lot of people in town won't even know what I'm talking about because they'll say, what are you talking about? But the older people will. And, but she could never go back to church because now she's not a Christian, right? At this time. But she wouldn't go back to church because she said, well, they're all hypocrites. You're not supposed to be. I was raised, you're not supposed to do that. Now they're doing it. So in other words, it confused her.
Yeah.
And it took years for Pam to teach her. And I tell you who helped her, believe it or not. Now, she was from a family of racists. I hate to say it. She was from an Alabama family of absolute racists. But a black man by the name of Craig, Pat and Carl Craig, took her to a black church. This is a great story. And she started realizing they loved on her and she helped them cook and do all kinds of stuff. Fell in love. She lived in government housing. She was a pretty poor lady as far as, you know, material wealth. And when she died, a black preacher preached her funeral. And you'd have never seen that in her family, ever seen it. So in other words, in the end, God touched her. But you know what got her? Love. That's what got her. Loving God, seeing people that truly love God and people that cared about her. And I'm telling you folks, nothing else, really, everything else is puffing stuff. If you don't love people and you don't really love them to help them and you don't love God, what you're doing is just a show. It's a ritual. It's all there is to it, period.
I think the older I get, the more I think it is about grace. And once you're saved, you're...
Well, here's the thing. Real repentance changes your behavior. And people should be able to look at you and say, man, what happened to him or what happened to her? What's the deal? Well, that guy used to cuss all the time. He ain't cussing. I ain't going to cuss in a week. And it's not that you're trying not to, it's that your life, your spirit is so changed and so in love with the Lord that you really stop doing the things you used to do. And you know what I'm saying? That's, so by their fruit, you know them. And I'm not saying that's the only thing, but I mean, people should know that you know the Lord by how you speak, how you talk, how you act, that you really know the Lord. And that's the fruit of it, you know.
Now, you mentioned the Torah. I don't see that in the King James Bible.
Yeah, it's there. You know
The Torah?
Yeah, because that's a Hebrew word for the first 5 books. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy.
I thought it was a whole nother book.
Oh, no. It's called the Torah, which is the instruction. And it's the 5 books written by Moses. And the Jewish people talk about the Torah. Or in the Christian church, we just say in the book of Genesis, in the book of Numbers, in the Protestant church, I should say, or the Catholic church. But if you're with the Jewish audience, if they are mentioning the 5 books, they'll say, now in the Torah, in the book of Bereshit, which is the book of Genesis, or you know, that's how.
Like the Catholic, they have the Torah, but it's just the 5 gospel, the 5.
Well, the Torah is Old Testament only.
Yeah, right.
Old
Genesis,
Testament.
Exodus.
And then you've got the Greek word is the Pentateuch. That's the Greek word for the 5 books. And then you've got, of course, the 4 Gospels. So, yeah. So everybody's Bible has the Torah in it, so to speak.
Have you ever read the Gita?
I
or
know
the Quran?
I have some. The Quran is very difficult to read because it's almost there's lines that kind of, I don't mean poetry in how every verse rhymes or something, but it's a little difficult at times to read. The Hadith are the sayings of Muhammad, and so it's interesting because you can start seeing why Muslims believe what they believe by reading it. In fact, I have Muslims that watch me on TV that send me Qurans. So I have some in my library. I sure do.
Is there stuff in the Bible that you haven't quite figured out?
Yep.
Some things.
I'm going to be teaching. I'm going to be teaching on a subject. As a matter of fact, and now people are going to see this probably at a later date, so it may not be the same time frame in them. But myself and 4 of the men are getting ready to teach a big study on a major television network that deals with how they're trying to take humans and put chips in their brain and reprogram humans to be almost artificial intelligence.
AI.
Yeah, and we're going to teach on that. The biggest mystery in the Bible, in my opinion, and I will be teaching this part in this presentation, the biggest mystery in the Bible is the mystery of giants. There were giants in the earth. That's an absolute fact. History tells us that. The early church fathers tell us that. And what the early fathers taught was God sent angels down in the form of men. We know that happened in Genesis 19.
The Nephilim?
Yes. And produced a race of giants by going into the daughters of men that were the Rephaim, the Anakims, the Nephilim, or giants. And the giants, there's records where there were men that were 12 to 14 feet tall.
Was that like Goliath?
Goliath was at least 9.5 according to Scripture.
Was he one of these?
He was one of them. And David, there were 5 remaining giants in David's time, and he and his men finally destroyed the race of the giants in the Promised Land completely. But
why didn't they want them here?
Well, they caused trouble all the time. That's why the flood came. The flood, if you'll read Genesis 6, the flood came because man's imagination was evil continually. The whole earth, all flesh had corrupted itself, all but Noah and his family. They did not. And there were giants all over the place.
Does it say what the corruption was?
The corruption was the giants. The sons of God, Genesis 6, going into the daughters of men, producing mighty men of renown. And these giants...
Why did God allow the angels to do that?
All Jewish sources say, excuse me, there was no written law of God for 2,500 years from Adam. 2,500 years, nothing. Men did that which was right in their own eyes, or God would reveal himself to a prophet like Abraham in a vision or a dream, or an angel would come in the form of a person, and that happened to Abraham, Genesis 18. It happened to Lot in Genesis 19. 2 angels in the form of men went to Sodom and Gomorrah to pull him out of the city. And so it did exist in the Old Testament time, right? Mm-hmm. But the reason that God we read that the angels that didn't keep their first position are now bound in chains of darkness in Tartarus. Now the English word in 2 Peter 2:4 is hell, but the Greek word is Tartarus, and it's the lower chamber of hell according to the Greeks, where fallen angels go. According to the early church fathers of the 2nd and 3rd, 4th century, the Greek mythology of all these gods and goddesses, especially the men, were actually the names of giants that existed through history, that you don't have a biblical record of, but they existed. And that's where the mythology came from, was from the giants, and many of them who died. And their names were passed on through Greek mythology. Now, that's what the early fathers teach. So what I'm saying is that is the most probably controversial and strangest thing in the Bible that is a mystery. The mystery of giants and even the origin of evil spirits. Evil spirit does not show up in the Bible to the book of Judges. Why? Why is there no evil spirits mentioned before the flood? There's no evil spirits mentioned after the flood, because 200 years before the birth of Jesus, it was taught that when the giants died, their spirits became demons and continued to roam the earth. So again, I'm getting into 2 hours. What, Charlie? 4 hours of teaching, and there's a million questions people have when you start teaching this. But can I
so
show
that's
you?
that's still a mystery to you then?
It is. I think I can get some knowledge on it, but it's still a mystery. Now I want to show you some things. Can I
Yeah,
go
sure.
here? All right. Everybody pay attention to this if you live in Cleveland, because you may not be aware of this. I was approached several years ago to do something, and I had no feeling to do it because we were building, we were so busy with what we were doing, we're traveling all over the place. I knew I didn't have time to do it, right? When COVID came to Israel, there were a lot of Israeli shops that were called antiquity shops. And there's only a few of them that have the license from the Israeli government to sell antiquities to people. One of them is a very dear friend of mine. And they passed a law, or were going to pass a law, that they could not sell antiquities to anybody outside of those living in Israel. They were just going to keep them in the country. Now that has since been fought, from what I understand, and has either been reversed or is going to be reversed, because the antiquities dealers in the old city, this is how they make their income. But what happened is the black market became so big with digging and forgeries that they just said we're going to stop it all. That was part of the reason. Okay, my friend contacted me and he said, I've talked to he works through the Israeli Museum, right? The Israeli Museum, and every article has a number on the back of it. You see that number? Mm-hmm. Every article has a number on the back of it. Some of them are on paper, and some of them are filed on little pieces of paper that we have. Okay. He made the decision to sell me at the lowest. The price is ridiculous. I could not believe it. The antiquities from two of his shops to build a museum here in Cleveland, Tennessee, a Holy Land Relic Museum. So what we're going to do, the architect's working on it now. We're going to rebuild it at the T.L. Lowry Center in the big hall. We're going to I called you about this. We're going to redo the hall, put a black drop ceiling in, redo the walls, and I think we have a guy that's going to even put fake rock, and we're going to make rocks and, in
So
there.
you're not doing the whole building, you're just making this the hall.
No, what we're doing, not the whole building is still the ISO school.
Right.
But when you walk into the main hall, it'll be different, and there'll be a big shop over here. It's going to probably be a gift shop on the left. You know where that is.
Yeah.
But when you go in that hall, because we were going to build a building that was going to cost about $5 to $6 million, and I said, whoa. I'm 63. I don't want to go into another building program. Yeah. And then we were praying one day, and this is our prayer center. We're moving our prayer back to the Omega Center International, big hall. And the ISO school is going to do their courses in the big hall, which works out great, doesn't it, Charlie? The big screens, it works out great. So we are starting soon, aren't we, from what I understand, on remodeling. Now, I received 470 boxes of authentic antiquities that are 1,500 to 4,000 years old.
You mean they're in Cleveland now?
They're somewhere in a secluded location, locked up under complete security, 24-hour security.
Golly.
Yeah, and none of us tell where they're located because it's a. Let me just say this: if a person tried to break in, there'd be a SWAT team in 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
470 boxes.
Yeah.
All antiquities, so
All
things
antiquities.
like 1,000, 2,000
Yeah,
years
and
old.
again, it's under laser, camera, security, and shoot to kill.
And these things
if I can say that, it's but
and these things came from Israel.
These things came from Israel. But I want to show.
So they're the real thing.
No, there's nothing here that's fake.
Yeah.
Okay, but now when we build the building, we have a major security team coming in. I mean, I'm not going to tell. It would be stupid for me to tell you the security we have. But anybody going in that building will have facial recognition. I'm talking in the dark, facial recognition.
In the T.O. Lowry building.
It'll be almost like Fort Knox, but it will be open to the public under guard, and there'll be a fee to go in because we have to keep it running.
Sure.
Very minimal fee, and you'll be able to see all. It's really a Bible Land museum.
There'll be people from all over coming.
Oh, everybody driving on the interstate that knows our ministry will stop by. Yeah. So let me show you 4 things. Y'all ready for the camera on this? Now, this is something. Let me see. I'm gonna get it. Hold it up where you can see that right there. All right, there we go. Perfect. This is something that you would not know unless you researched it. This is brass, but it's tarnished now. All right, you can see that light reflection right there?
It looks like a mirror almost.
Thank you. That's exactly what it is. This was probably in the pocket of a woman in the time of the Apostle Paul.
Golly.
And when Paul said we see through a glass darkly, he was talking about these mirrors. And back in the day, if you polished this, you could get a reflection on it. And this is one that was either in a home or carried in a pocket. And this is going to be displayed, of course, with other things. Now we're talking about, Charlie,
what kind of stone is that?
It's cut out of limestone.
Oh.
Now, some of it is not. And I say this one's cut out of limestone. I'm assuming it is because of the feel. But it can be clay baked. But they wouldn't bake it with the mirror.
The apostles could have held it.
Of course. That's what makes it interesting. Now, idols, I'm not a fan of having idols, okay? I'm not a fan, of course. But we're not worshiping them. We're not setting them up. But I have about every idol Israel worship, authentic, found there. So we're going to have a section called the foolishness of idolatry. Now, the idols that were made of clay, when I got this in the box, I was stunned because I've never seen this before. I've known this man over there since he was a boy that had the shop. This is a mold for idols. They would put, now there was another part, there was another part that went in there. Now, of course, an archaeologist who's a specialist could probably look at that and figure out exactly who it is, But these were called pocket idols. They put them in their home or they could carry them with them. Not this, but what came out of it.
Yeah. It was like a molding.
It's a mold. It's just like Play-Doh, just like the Play-Doh molds. Now,
can you imagine somebody worshiping that?
No.
Crazy.
It is.
Made sense to
That's
them.
why it's the foolishness of idolatry. These, when these start coming in, these are very, very significant historically. Because in the land of Ur, where Abraham came from, is the time frame. It starts there and it moves forward in time where these were made. These are, they're called terracotta pieces. And I want you to see there's an image on there. I'm going to turn it sideways so you can see how it's made from a mold. And these were placed in homes. Now this one may have stood up in a house, I think. There's parts of it's chipped away. All right? But these had a lot of times idols, kings. I have one where the man is 3 times bigger than the people. I think it's a giant. I honestly do. And I've got, who was that? Who was the woman the guy sent me from the museum and said that was Lilith. A very famous Jewish tradition on Lilith, and who was supposed to be Adam's first wife, which is not in the Bible, by the way, and it's not biblical at all.
It's supposed to be Adam's first wife?
It's a big story that I'm not even going to get into detail. But we have one of these with her picture on it, with her image, I should say, on it, all right? And all of these are going to be on display, okay? And again, this is going to be, this could be a year to a year and a half from now by the time we get it done and put all the security lasers in the cameras and things like that. But it will be. Now, this shocked me when I got this. This is broken, but I'm going to hold this up in a minute and show you what this is. If you can see, this has writing.
Yeah.
Can you see the writing on the inside?
I can see the writing on the bottom.
Now, this will either be Hebrew A lot of it is Hebrew, and some of it, you can see some of it sometimes in Greek letters, but mostly Hebrew letters, Old Hebrew, etc. This is called an incantation bowl. Now, guess what they did with this? This is gonna mess with you when I tell you.
I can't figure out how they got the writing in there. That would take some time.
They do
to
it
write.
by hand. They do it by hand. Okay. This one, of course, was broken and it's pieced back together. But here's what they would do. In the entrance of a house, this would have an incantation in it. And this is what this is. Now, I can't read this, of course, and it's so old and faded, you could probably make a few words out, etc. And they would turn it upside down like this and bury it at somewhere on the side of the house in the ground. Okay? Of course, you fill it with dirt, and then you put it just there. And if a demon spirit were to come near the house, this is all. Now, let me say again for anybody watching, this is not biblical. This is man-made tradition. We were talking about tradition earlier.
Yeah.
The demon would read the incantation before it would go in. And some of them will say, in the name of Michael the archangel, who was the chief angel of Yahweh, we command these demons before they enter this house to go into this bowl. Because now this was like 6th and 7th century, so this wasn't done in the time of Jesus. This was a tradition. So somebody really made a living off of doing
evidently.
this. Okay, and so the demon was supposed to go into the bowl, and it's supposed to stay there and prevent it from coming into the house. And I laughed. I knew it when I got these bowls. I said, I know some homes in Cleveland. I like to bury those at the entrance, so they can keep the demon captured in that house and keep from going all over the place. This little joke there, folks, by the way.
But can you imagine somebody believing that?
Yeah, and again, this is where you get into superstitions. Idolatry is a superstition. This is nothing more than a superstition. Voodoo is a superstition. So what we're going to do, and this is just I wanted to show the people in town to kind of get ready to anticipate this. We're going to have whenever it's done, we'll have the newspaper out here in Cleveland. Of course, we'll advertise it on our program. We're going to have a dedication. And the fee to see it probably isn't going to be but $5 a person. It's going to be on. We have to keep the electricity.
You got to keep somebody there.
You got to keep security.
Curator.
Thousands of dollars a month it's going to cost us to keep this, keep it there, keep things there. And we will not put everything out. There will be a vault probably out of state where the rest of it will go. And it's a very secure vault. Ain't nobody going to get in there. But we're not going to put all of it out. We'll only put certain pieces, and then probably we'll rotate the pieces. And some of these, may not be of heavy value, like
this. It's just of the times.
Yes, yeah.
It's of the
so
times.
in other words, if a shop were selling that, I don't know what it would cost, but it's not like you've got millions and millions of dollars. I don't mean that. But there are so many wonderful things that are part of Bible history.
It's interesting that it's got little knobs on it, like you could turn it upside down.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? You want to see that one more time? That's the mirror we talked about just a moment ago. There you go. He does a great job on the camera, by the way.
He's the
best. The man over there.
He's the best.
He's the best. He's the best, I tell you. Him and Charlie, they're the best. They're the best. All right. Now, the reason I wanted to share that with you is that it's going to be exciting to be able. The university is here. School of Theology is here. Christian, based schools. Yeah. And it's going to be very exciting when we have a conference because the Lord willing, we have several thousand people at all of our conferences. So they're going to all come in town and be able, while they're here, to go there and to tour the facility. Now, of course, there will be, ISO school offices are still there 8 hours a day, or more. So that doesn't change Monday through Friday. We probably won't open it every day at first. We'll open it just maybe a few days a week. And then as the traffic increases, because people, I promise you, you'll want to see this. These are things from the Bible time. And I have some things, I've got some things that honestly are mind-blowing. They're mind-blowing. I have oil lamps from every age of Bible history. Every age. Before Christ, Roman time, Greek time, Byzantine time, Muslim time, Crusader time.
If you could put them on a wall with the time frames,
that's what's going to happen. Well, we're going to have glass, protective glass, and of course secure glass.
It'll have a time frame that when
it'll have how they're made. It'll say this is this. And one thing we're doing when we make the signs, I don't want this to be this place that is so theologically deep with words and theological words that common people, it goes over their head. This is not a museum for a university. Does that make sense? A university museum would use BCE
Yeah.
before the Common Era. Most people don't even know what BCE means.
Yeah, they don't know.
We use BC.
Yeah.
And in my museum, AD and BC are used because that's what the common people. I've always ministered to the common people. I think some of our teaching is very academic, but at the same time, I want to minister to the common people and not go over top of people's head. So the signs, the maps, the videos, everything will be, I think a kid 10 years old will be able to understand the history of the Bible. And I've got some pieces, though. I wasn't going to bring them because I don't want to drop them, you know?
Yeah, right.
And I
noticed you had them in a box that was secure and had bubble wrap.
The Roman glass, Charlie, Phoenician glass, right? The Phoenician glass, which is 2,800 years old, and the Roman glass, and the bronze. I have bronze spears, bronze swords, bronze pieces. You can't believe it. You just really cannot believe what's there.
I'm astounded at your knowledge of history, and
that's from going to Israel 40 years, right, Charlie? I fell in love with it. You know, we're going to Israel this November. I think are we full yet?
There's not a question
about
that
300 people. Yeah,
there's not really a question that you don't know the verse and the explanation for.
That's because I spent my life in a cave. I tell them I'm a caveman. No, I really have spent my life. Charlie, am I telling the truth? When I'm on the road, when I'm on my plane, I'm reading. When I'm in a hotel room, I'm studying.
You read more commentaries or just the Bible?
We took the King James translation. It took 7 years. It physically broke me down, though, to do this 15 hours, 16 hours a day. I physically had a breakdown. And some people have heard about that, some haven't. But I had to take time off for several reasons, but that was one of the main ones. I was at a place of a very famous doctor, and he looked at me and he said, if you don't change everything you're doing, if you don't get out from under stress, I will find you dead in 2 years. You'll die in 2 years. I said, why? He said, well, your A1C is 13, for goodness sakes. And my blood pressure was so high, I was beyond stroke level. He said, I expect you just to drop over right here, and I just have to take you to a hospital anytime.
Your color looks really good now.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. You've lost a little weight, haven't you?
You think so?
I do.
Oh, praise God. I'm glad to hear that. I'll do a TLR on you. Thank you, man. Hallelujah. Thank you for that. I really do. And I'm grateful to having a good wife who's helped me. Have a staff that's helping me. I mean, they watch what I eat, right? They really do.
Will they go to get your lunch, or will you go eat lunch?
I don't go out and tell much. It takes away from the time.
But I mean, will you run to Hardee's or Aubrey's?
No, I'll have them either. Sometimes they'll fix something there. And I'll tell you who does my lunch now. My sister, which I should have hired her 10 years ago, when Gina left me. I should have hired my sister. She's really a good worker. I mean, she's very sharp. She's a great researcher. She can do she can do letters. She can do proofreading of books. So my sister actually does all my lunches.
So you'll sit there and she'll just
I'll say, Diane, go fix me. What's that drink called? Cachava? Something like that. She fixes this cachava, which is a meal replacement. So I say, I need a chaka chaka. You know, I'll make up some word. She'll say, I'll be there in a minute, you know. And then she'll come up her office is right under me. She'll come up and bring me that. She'll bring me, she makes salads, or she not cooks, but she gets really good food and healthy food. So she's the person that takes care of my lunch about 95% of the time.
Wouldn't that? I was driving by your.
And the reason I don't go out is it just by the time you get in the car, by the time you go out, by the time you get back, and then I do so much writing. And Charlie will tell you this, that there's a rule. Charlie has a knock, and then he's let in the office because you have to have 4 security things to get to my office. Yeah. None of my staff can get to my office except for 4 guys, I guess. My own sister can't get into my office. So, in other words, I'm very...
Because you're working and studying.
Well, and I don't want distractions. So Charlie knows if I'm on something and he'll walk in and say, we need you to look at these emails, I'll say, well, get with me in a minute. And he knows what I'm doing. He reads me. He's working on something, leave him alone. But I'm working on so much that he knows I just can't hardly stand to be disturbed at all. And that's just my character, my nature of that. Because like sometimes I'll have things to sign and I'll say, okay, wait till 4 o'clock, I'll sign these. or wait till a certain time. And every morning there's certain people I'll talk to or meet with, and I'll say, here's what I want you to do today. Call this, set up this, get the calendar, do this and this. Then I sat back in now the bad thing about that, and it is bad, is that I don't get a lot of exercise. So I try to make myself now, this was a problem I had a couple years ago physically, why I had the physical breakdown. I try to actually get up. I've got some weights. I've got a massage chair. Believe it or not, I get in that chair and lean back and pray. Yeah. I can pray real well in that chair for some reason. And I have weights. And I'll just get up sometimes, and they'll see me, and I'll just get up and walk somewhere, walk inside the building. I don't walk around outside much because if people see me, they want to pull up in the car. And sometimes they'll start a conversation. And, if I'm really heavy, and I know people don't understand this, but if you're really heavy in concentration and you're on a thought, a conversation throws you out of that. You've had it happen.
Oh, you got to be in the zone.
And then you forget, what was I going to do? I had that thought and I forgot about it.
Do you ever have people come in and just want to see you,
occasionally.
I mean, because you're a big deal.
Well, not really, but
when you get outside of little Cleveland, you're a big deal outside of here.
Well, you're not. It's just like Jesus says, you have no honor in your hometown. Jesus even said that, and it's true. You do have people that love you, care about you. You have, OCI's got some wonderful, we've got hundreds of people there. But it is true that your biggest critics is your town. I won't tell you, well, you can figure it out, but I have a real great attorney in town. Well, I'll just tell you, Jimmy Logan. Jimmy's amazing.
He really is.
And then I have about 4 other attorneys in different states, And but Jimmy was talking to me one day, and he's a great talker, by the way. He loves to, He said, I don't think I've ever met a man that is more disliked by people in this town than you. And I said, well, that's great. He said, no, you don't understand. They can't give you the reason why. Because I say, what's your problem with him? I don't know. And he says it comes down to 2 things inevitably. You were able to come in here and build something with the help of God and pay for it, and a lot of people can't do that. And that causes jealousy with some people. So that's true. That's true. And he said the other thing is anyone who has success in what they do, people may not be as successful, resent it and envy it. And then on the flip side, he said, but the people who love you really love you. And you need to know there's a lot of people in this town that you've touched their lives over the years, and they'll fight for you and they love you. But it's that way. And look, I'm not comparing myself to Jesus, so don't anybody get freaked out. But in his ministry, he would go to Nazareth, and they wanted to push him off a cliff. He'd go right down here to Capernaum and pack the place out and have miracles. And it says in Nazareth, he could do no mighty works because of their unbelief. So in your hometown, you're never going to be, and it's like I can take you to any minister. Joel Osteen's worst critics are in Houston, and they love him everywhere else. I could start naming the men and show you that in their church, where their church is, John Hagee, people love John Hagee, but guess where they don't like John Hagee? In his town. Why? Now, not everybody, because he's got a big crowd, but the people who don't like him more will not like him there. Can't even tell you why. I don't like his preaching. He's too hard. I don't like prophecy. He believes in the rapture. I don't believe it. It's all that kind of stuff, Let
me tell you a funny story. I was in Georgia doing a job for somebody, and I don't know how I ended up there. This has been 10 years ago. And the lady there was giving me a really hard time. And come to find out, she found out I was from Cleveland, and she said, do you know T.L. Lowry? And I said, well, sure I do. She said, I don't believe you know him. I said, yeah, I do know him. And she said, well, he's from Cleveland. I said, yeah, I know him. And she said, I don't believe you know him. And I picked up my phone, and I had his number.
No, that's funny.
I dialed his number, and he goes, hello? And I said, T.L., I got somebody who wants to talk to you. And, man, they rolled the red carpet out for me.
I tell you,
because they couldn't believe that I knew him, but to me, he just drove around Cleveland.
Exactly. So it's different. Your view is different from, exactly. I know a friend of mine was in, I'll tell you where he was, and it was a convention, so he's not out there gambling. Yeah. But he was a Cleveland businessman, and you'd know him, I won't name him because it's a personal story. But he was checking into the hotel at the convention center, and the bellman there said, hey, where are you guys from? He said, well, we're from Tennessee. What part? He said, Cleveland, Tennessee. And he told me, he called me when he got back. He said, that bellman said, oh, my Lord, my man Perry Stone lives there. He said, how do you know Perry? He said, I got saved under his ministry. I wouldn't have never known that.
No,
I don't know that I've ever heard from the guy. And
is it a coincidence or is it not?
I think some things are just set up to meet people because they developed a friendship with that man, was able to talk to him. I was in town the other day to show you how interesting it gets. One of the things that's happened to us is there's been a shift in people watching television versus people going to social media. Mm-hmm. And so YouTube is a big thing with this generation, and of course with many people. Yeah. I was up here at the, now I will tell you, my favorite place to eat in town is the crab place. What's it called? Juicy Crab.
Juicy Crab,
because I like seafood. Now, I don't go there much. Yeah. If I go there once a week, that's a lot. But I'm saying I love seafood. You love seafood, Charlie.
They got real good bread, rolls.
Oh, yeah. That's a good place.
It's cheese in it.
So I'm sitting in there one day, and they have a bar there where most places have bars now. You can't go anywhere, Applebee's or wherever. And I don't drink, so I'm not a bar fan, of course, and I don't ever drink alcohol. So we're sitting over here. Well, two guys are at the bar, and one of them had got a little tipsy, and they come walking over toward me, and everybody looks at me. I think those two men are coming over here. Well, you never know.
Yeah, you never know.
I've never been confronted by people that often or anything like that in a negative way. So I said, well, let me just talk to him. He said, you Perry Stone? And I thought, well, it depends on what you're going to say. I said, if you're going to say something bad, I'm not. If you're going to say something good, he just laughed. He said, we just want to tell you something, man. Now, you got to remember, these are two guys who really don't go to church. Mm-hmm. They said, man, we love your YouTube channel. I said, you watch YouTube? You watch me? He said, oh, man, all the time, every time you put something out. And they just went on and on and on. And I realized that we were teaching some things. Ours is not secular. It's very spiritual. It's very biblical oriented. It's very teaching oriented. And I realized, now here's some guys who don't go to church. They have church family. Mm-hmm. And here's some guys that maybe God will help us to get the word into them, although they're not following him. That's what I want to happen. I don't worry so much about church people that like me or don't like me. Honest to God, I could care less about that. What I'm interested in is the people who don't have a relationship with the Lord. And the real harvest right now for me is overseas. Oh my goodness. The people getting saved outside the United States in our ministry. How many did we have last month? 21,000 in one nation? And 21,000. I'm talking about, that's legit. These were villages. That's not a fake number that we just made up. That's an on-the-ground, knocking on the door follow-up number. 21,000. And
where is this at?
Well, we don't name the country. And other people say, well, you're just making that up. No, I'm not making it up. We'll show pictures, but we don't name it because we don't want someone here from that country stepping in and calling them saying you need to stop that.
Right.
Because it's not a Christian country. And so
they got to be very careful, don't they?
They have to be very careful, and we try to protect them as much as possible. So what we're doing now is focusing, and Charlie knows this, overseas. We're going on television. What was that channel? I'm sorry, Ukraine and Russia. We're already on in both of those countries, but Rick Renner is starting a big station, or has a big station there. We're getting ready to go on millions and millions of homes in Russia and the Ukraine, because the Ukraine still has areas where is it cable and computer? They can still pick up on the eastern part.
Can you get into Russia's TV?
Oh, yeah. We're on. Is it TV in Russia?
So they don't have that censored or whatever?
Not at this point. People don't understand that the Orthodox Church controls Russia.
Let me tell you about Capstar Bank. They're located in Nashville, Hendersonville, Gallatin, Athens, Madisonville, Sweetwater, Etowah, and in Cleveland at 950 25th Street and 3855 North Ocoee Street. I've used them. I like them. Give them a try. They're no problem.
Hello, I'm Dee Burris, and most of you know me as a general contractor. In October of 2020, I started a podcast that I call The Discussion with Dee Burris. Each week, I have conversations with interesting, informative, and fascinating people from Cleveland and Bradley County and the surrounding areas. You can watch the discussion at deeburris.com on YouTube and Facebook, where we would ask you to please subscribe, it's free, for updates and notifications of new shows. It's no problem. You said that Russia is mostly Orthodox?
There's a Russian Orthodox Church, and that's who Putin is associated with, is the Russian Orthodox Church.
Which is what? They believe in God?
Yeah, it's not like Catholic, but it's very similar to the Catholic Church. They have their archbishops, they have bishops in the structure of it, but it's centralized in Russia. The Russian Orthodox were in Ukraine, and the Ukrainian broke off from the Russian Orthodox. And some say that war was triggered by some of those things. That wasn't the only thing, but that was like a big part of it, the rumor is.
Do they go by the Bible?
Yeah, pretty much.
They just read it different
very,
than we do?
Very tradition and very ritualistic. Lots of rituals, kind of routine rituals.
They go by the New Testament too?
As far as I know.
But they let you in there?
But now there would be doctrinal differences between them and some of the things that we would teach here. And would they pick up on that and not let you in? Well, let me say this. Billy Graham spoke at the Russian Orthodox Church under communism. It was very controversial. It was one of the only controversial things Billy did because they gave him the freedom to preach and they gave freedom for the people to come under communism. So they showed Billy a good side. And so when Billy left, he was criticized of why did you kind of fall into their game. Mm-hmm. They felt like they used Billy. Mm-hmm. So, but as far as me going to preach there, I was in Bulgaria. They have the Bulgarian Orthodox, and so many of the Orthodox people were coming to the meetings in the big halls. And sometimes the priests did not want them coming because they were afraid of maybe losing them from their congregation into these newer type of churches.
But some people read the Bible and they see it this way. Mm-hmm. Other people read it and they see it this way. Are they both going to go to heaven?
Yeah,
or is God going to say, you read that one wrong. I'm burning you in hell.
No, I don't think it's an issue of that as much as it is an issue of the heart of the person and the issue of did they truly repent and trust the Lord. The issue is going to be what did you believe in Christ? Did you believe he was the Son of God? Did you apply the blood of Christ to your life? Did you do your best to follow him? And you, as far as doing your best to follow him, you can only follow the Lord based on the knowledge you have. So if you don't have knowledge, you cannot be responsible for what you don't know.
Okay, now, in that thought, I've not studied Greek. I've not studied Aramaic.
Yeah.
I don't know the translations.
Right.
So I can just read it for what I think it's worth. Am I supposed to get in a room and learn Greek and go to the Rosetta Stone? Or am I supposed to just trust God?
Well, the Bible is written. I always tell people this. I'm a King James 1611 guy because that's what I've always preached with. Jensen Franklin always preached with that as well. So us older guys, not old but older, we're used to that. I do tell people, though, there are translations that if you want to read to get just understanding, that there are some translations that takes the thou and the they, thy out, like New King James, for example, and is a little bit more easy readable to the English culture today. Now, people argue with me about the translations. I'm not going to do that. But I would say if people get a readable translation that they can understand and they love the Word, as long as that book does not take away from the Word of God and start adding to things that aren't there, you know what I mean? As long as it's a good translation, then read it because you'll be able to read it and understand what it's saying.
So you think anything in the translations that's different is not contradictory?
And again, it depends on translations. There are a couple poor translations and there are a couple very good translations. And I'm not the translation expert here. I'm just talking about from pastors who do Greek, study Greek. They prefer this one or that one because they say it's a good translation. Because people have to understand a translation is just that, a translation. If I use the word, a certain biblical word, I may have to go to this country and translate it this way for them to understand it. And I go to India and I have to use a whole different word to get them to understand what I'm trying to say. So that's what translation is about. You know?
And even in some of the like the older texts like Greeks, they used a lot of verbs that we wouldn't use today.
It's not
it's not all in the translation, but the meanings of the words were different.
Yeah, I'll give an example. In the King James translation, where the young boy has the epileptic seizure, it says, and he was pining away. You know what pining away means? We don't use the word today.
We don't use it.
They used it in 1611. It means withering. So the newer translations were saying he was withering away. And someone would say, well, that's not what the Bible says. King James says pining. Well, nobody uses that word because it's a translation from the Greek in that day. Let me think if I can find another word. Well, look at the word power. There's two main Greek words for power. Dunamis and exousia, depending on how you pronounce that. One means a dynamo, energy. We'd say the energy of God. The other one means authority. But they're both translated power. Behold, I give to you power to tread on serpents and scorpions, all the power of the enemy. That's the word for authority. You shall receive power when the Holy Ghost comes on you. That Greek word is the one of the divine energy of God. And I'm making it simple for people to understand. So where Bible study comes in is looking at those words. I have a Bible Soft program that it has every number. And when I see the numbers are the same, I know that Strong says this is that word. When that number changes, I said, no, wait a minute. It's the same word there, power, but now it's just changed here. And I'll go and say, oh, that's the one that means authority. That's how you study Scripture. So sometimes it's good to see that there can be judgment seat, the judgment seat. There's 5 different meanings of judgment seat. So one word judgment seat means the judgment in heaven. One word judgment seat is Pilate's judgment seat or judgment hall. Or I should say judgment. I should have said 5 words for judgment. So judgment seat, judgment hall, great white throne judgment. And each one is a different Greek word with a different nuance or a different, not nuance, but a different meaning to it. So that's why study is important. So and that's what pastors and evangelists are for. We do the study, we break it down, and that's why you have to know the person preaching the Word of God to you, that they're really preaching the Word.
So how do you know which is inspired?
Like which person?
Well, I mean, the Bible, we say it's inspired Word of God.
Yeah.
Which one?
He sounds like a rabbi debating me. I've had some friends in Israel we'd get into these.
Yeah.
Well, there again, you go back. That's why the original languages would be important, like the Hebrew.
Yeah.
Then there's programs that show you this. You look at that word and say, okay, that word best means this. Oh, that word best means this. And that's how you get the understanding of what they're really saying. But ministers are supposed to be doing that. Like if a minister's breaking down a verse, he should be breaking down, not all the time, but if there's a word that people don't understand or a subject, that's why you do word studies, is you break it down so that people can say, oh, that's what that means. And that's what ministers, pastors, or evangelists or teachers. Well, that's part of what we're supposed to do.
Well, that's what
the Bible called it rightly dividing the word. Don't take it out of context. Don't make it say what it didn't say. Put it in the context of the verses before and after it, and you'll get the understanding of what
that phrase, rightly dividing the word, has caused a lot of people to
wrong to divide.
Yeah, it really has, because you don't know. Because we don't have a Strong's, what'd you call it? Strong's Concordance.
Yeah.
We don't have that with us.
Well, they got you can go buy them. I mean,
but now we're reading the Bible and that.
Yeah.
Why not just read the Bible?
Well, because of the question you're asking me, how do you know what the word's saying? That's how you know. You go to these resources that have the word studies. I love a Vine's Expository Dictionary of New Testament Greek Words. It'll give you the King James word. It'll give you the Greek word. It'll tell you exactly what it means. And that's rightly dividing. Paul said, study to show yourself approved unto God. Rightly dividing the word. That's what he was talking about there. Take the Scripture, look at each word, look at it in the context. What does God say?
But the average person...
But I'll tell you something. 80% of the Bible to 90%, honestly, is understandable when you read it. The most difficult thing to understand, according to most people, is the apocalyptic scriptures that use all the symbolism. But the Bible interprets itself in the symbolism. You just have to know where it's at. And again, that's what guys like me are supposed to do. I'm going to teach you the book. I have a whole, what is that teaching on Revelation? It's 10 hours? I have a 10-hour teaching on the book of Revelation. And that's what I did. I went verse by verse, chapter by chapter, broke it down. I talked about, okay, this symbolism is first found over here in Daniel. This symbolism is found in the book of Genesis. And here's what it means here, and that's what it means here. It's like, oh, okay. So once you break the code, so to speak, it's not that complicated. It really is not.
Do you think Jesus died for our sins or our future sins too?
Well, he died for everything, but there's a controversy there in that people say, once I've repented, I never need to repent again because everything's automatically covered, okay? And that's not true. In other words, if we sin, we have an advocate with the Father. If we can, and then he says in context, but if we confess our sins, he's faithful to forgive us. Book of Revelation, 5 out of 7 churches, he tells them to repent. Now, why are you telling the church to repent if there's no need to repent? So that's an issue again between some of the denominational groups, that the new message of grace is my sins are covered past, present, and future, so I don't have to ever, if I sin, God knows I sin, but I'm a child of God, so he'll take care of it in heaven. But he says if we confess our sins, he's faithful to forgive, in the context of if we sin, we have an advocate. And that word if, I heard Dr. Arrington talk about, I believe it was Dr. Arrington, about, like in that verse, it's basically saying, beloved, I write to you that you sin not, meaning don't practice sin. But if you fall into the trap of sin, then you have an advocate with the Father. So a real believer doesn't practice sinning, but a real believer can still fall into a trap. He can be overwhelmed. You can be overcome by testing.
He cannot even know he's sinning.
Yeah, well, a real believer that knows the Word would know by the conviction of the Spirit of God that he's done wrong. Like if you've ever done something ever, and it was like you felt like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. God, it was stupid. I shouldn't have done that. That's conviction.
Was that a sin?
Well, no, it's not. If that's how you will know it is a sin, if you feel conviction. You'll say, oh, something just checked my spirit. I shouldn't have said that. And when you do that, that's where you go to the person and say, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Or you go before the Lord, depending on if it's a thing involving a person, you have to go to the person. If it's a thing just involving you personally, you go directly to the Lord with it. Does that make sense?
Yep.
This is the Dee Burris School of Theology right here in Cleveland, Tennessee.
I've got more questions than you've got.
Can I go to something else? Because he wants you to share this.
Sure.
Here we go. The past couple of years, we have all seen the economy go through different phases. You know, when President Trump was in, we saw a bump up in jobs and low gas prices.
Everything was great, yeah.
Yeah, and then COVID hit and it began to affect, and Biden got in, and the Green New Deals and things. Everything just seems like it's so shaking right now, and a lot of people need just extra incomes. You know, sometimes they need $100, $200 extra a month. Sometimes they need something extra to help them or pay a bill. And one of the things that I have done, I have been all of my life, my brother has been this way, my father was this way, I'm this way. We're a collector of useless junk. And that's what my wife used to say. I have boxes of old newspapers. I've got boxes of
nostalgic stuff.
Antiques, nostalgic. I like old documents. I like anything old. If it's 50, if it's 80, 100 years old books. All right. Now let me tell you what happens with most people. Most people will have, let's say, an estate sale, and someone will come in. And I have a friend of mine who does a great job of this, by the way. But they will put prices on every item in the house. Now, that's the better way of doing it than the old auctions. In the old auctions, you would have stuff sell for nothing, and it was valuable. And people were just losing their shirt. I don't mean that bad, but I know a man that showed up to an auction, and it was during the Auburn football game, and the auctioneer did not know it, and it was an absolute auction, Grant Dunham, and he bought a whole barn full of antiques worth hundreds of thousands of dollars for like $5,000. But the guy had to sell them to him. Auctions, I mean, and I'm not against auctions, I like them, but you can get deals for the buyer. But for the person selling, it does not always work out. So if you have an estate, it's good to get an honest person to come in and look over all your stuff and price it for your family. And that way you don't get burnt by someone that'll walk in. And let's say you don't know. My brother was telling about a lady whose husband was in Nashville at the Grand Ole Opry. He has all these old instruments. She has no idea what they're worth. And some guy from Nashville said, well, yeah, they're blah, blah, blah. I'll give you this much. And she was going to sell the whole lot and it was a sin because the guy realized I could take advantage of her. And when you have things that could be of value, possibly, I would encourage kids, family members, and moms and dads, grandparents, if you're going to sell, do your homework first. Now, one of the biggest mistakes people make is in a yard sale selling old books. Now, we're not talking necessarily about old paperbacks that are all tore up, but there are books that are first edition that are worth tens of thousands of dollars to the right person. Mm-hmm. And so before you go and sell something in a yard sale, and there have been people that have got great deals out of yard sales. Ball cards is another thing, and I'm going to talk about ball cards. That's what I'm going to talk about. People have sports cards collections, and they have no idea what they've got. They'll throw them in a yard sale. Maybe it was their dad's. Mm-hmm. Maybe it was their great-granddad's. Nobody in the family wants them. Nobody cares. Now, on my phone, let me see if I can pull this up. I'm going to pull up something on my phone that you are not going to believe when I show you this, okay? I'm going to go to a ball card auction company, and I'm going to have him get a close-up of this. This auction ended last night. I have been a sports card collector for 45 years. Mm-hmm. Am I right, Charlie? Charlie laughs at me sometimes because I have a lot of stuff. I did not know that some of the cards were going at these auctions for the prices they were. And this card, I want you to zoom in. This is a 2021 Panini National Treasures Platinum number 156, Trevor Lawrence signed NFL shell patch rookie card, 1 of 1. Somebody pulled this out of an expensive box, right? Now, are you ready to see? And this does include the buyer's fee. Here's the final price on the card. Now get a shot of this. You ready? Can you see it? Is it too much light? That's a little bit. It's real light on the screen. They might not be able to see it.
Angle it more.
Let's see. I still can't see it. I may have to tell you what the price is. Read that price on that.
$336,000.
$336,000. You see? Can you see that? Yeah. Now,
boy, that's
ridiculous. Let's show you another one. Here's one that's a 2019 Bowman Prospect Super Refractor 1 of 1 Julio Rodriguez rookie card. This was pulled from a box of cards. It's graded at Beckett at 9.5. Look at the price and read that and tell me what that price is.
$67,200.
That's a car.
And did this guy play when?
He's playing now.
Why is it worth so much money?
Because it's a 1 of 1 card. Now, let me show you.
You mean it's the only card they made?
It's the only. They make cards that look like that, but that one is special, and they put a 1 of 1 on it, and it makes it that value. Now, a little bit of something I want to tell you. So, last night, there's something in the way here. Hang on. Last night, I had put 14 cards in this auction. Now, you got to understand, Charlie knows this. This is stuff I've collected for years. I had it graded, okay? And I have put everything back in the ministry my whole life. All of our books and tapes that VOE prints, I have never got a penny royalty on in my life. When Charisma Magazine assigned me to write books, they gave me an advance. But still, all the books sold went 100% to the ministry. Every DVD I've ever done goes directly to the ministry. I've never got a penny. Am I telling the truth, Charlie? Everything I've ever put out, literally, we've sold millions of books, millions of CDs and DVDs. I did not get 1 cent off of it. I get paid a salary. So I said to my wife, you know what? I'm going to start taking all these cards I've had and grading them and see what will happen. Okay? Last night, I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to try to hold that. That is a card that last night sold at the auction. And they got into a bidding war. 2 men got into a bidding war over this Rocky Balboa signed card. There it is. And you can't see the price because it's covered. That went for almost $5,000. Now, there are people that have sports cards like they have a rookie card.
Yeah.
And it's just sitting there. Now, I'm not. Now, your 90s cards, there were so many of them made, they may not be of great value. But you need to be careful, and I'm saying this, selling stuff cheap at a yard sale before you have a true specialist come in and actually see what it's worth, because you might be shocked and surprised at the income that you can come in. And I've got all the cards here that I sold last night.
Is it on eBay or what?
No. This is called Golden Auctions, and I have a friend.
Is it just cards? Or?
This one is the Hulk Hogan. That one sold last night. Went way beyond. That went way beyond what I expected. How long have I had that card? 10 years? 15 years? Yeah, probably 15 years. It's just been sitting around, and I told my wife, you know what? I said, baby, if something happened to me, what would you do with these cards? She says, I have no idea.
Put them in the yard sale.
She said, they'll probably go to Goodwill. And I said, you know what I'm going to do? God bless Goodwill, but I'm going to sell them. And I'm selling all my cards now. And that's how we're being able to do our vacations. That's how we had to repair our house, is with these card sales. Now, this is very personal, and this is the kind of stuff, somebody can get jealous over. And if they do, I apologize that if it does make you jealous, but it makes me very thankful to the Lord, because there again, our entire life, my wife and I, we have put everything, literally everything, back into the ministry, and we don't complain about that. I've never complained about it. We're blessed people. God has blessed us and helped us. But these are the kind of things that, and you know what? I can't find.
Is it just baseball cards on that side, or
it's
cards?
It's any sports, any sports whatsoever.
Not a lamp or a furniture lamp.
No. This is just a sports car place. But my point is, be careful, and this is what I'm going to tell you. If you have old cards from the 60s, 50s, especially 60s, 70s, and 80s, it is unbelievable. It didn't used to be this way. It started 3 years ago. It started when they started doing what was called breaks. They would do a break, which is a company would. Hang on just a second. Let me get that out of the way. Here we go. That's what I'm looking for. They would take a box and they will open them, and then they'll say, oh my goodness, we just got this card, Zion Williams 1 of 1, it's worth $50,000. Well, everybody starts seeing it, and the prices of the cards just start going up. So years ago, there is a guy here in town. If you guys want to go to a little card shop, he's not open all the time, but his name is Sugar Bears. I don't know if you know him. His name's Gary. He's on, where's he located at?
West Side Drive?
It's over on the other end of town. And I've had a lot of blessing and luck over the years just getting stuff from him for whatever reason. I have no idea why. Good man. So years ago, I went into his shop, and I'm trying to find this. This is what I'm looking for. It's in here somewhere over the rainbow. So I wanted to try to find. Hang on. You know what, Charlie? I must have bumped that out of here, and I don't know why I would have done that. Because I cannot find that. Okay. Can I just tell you the story then? Then I'm going to show you this card right here in a minute.
You may have a loose nut behind the gears.
Yeah, it's anyway. So I go to Sugar Bears, and I'm telling these funny stories to people because this may interest nobody, but you may have up in your attic these cards.
Yeah.
And you don't know what you got. So have them checked by someone, or check yourself. All you have to do is go to the internet and type in look at the back of the card. What year? 1991 Fleer. You flip it over. It'll say Michael Jordan, 1991 Fleer dash Michael Jordan dash and the card number, and it will go to all these websites to tell you what it's worth. So years ago, I pulled. Charlie remembers this. A Aaron Rodgers 1 of 1 signed rookie card. Now back then, Aaron Rodgers, that card was worth $100, and I had it graded because I said, I started seeing he was a good quarterback. Yeah. I said, he's going to be a good quarterback. I'm going to have it graded. So this is what happened. This is what got this started. Pam said, baby, we've got to have repairs on the house. And I said, why is it right when everything's going, repairs? Oh, my goodness, how much? And she told me. I said, oh, Lord. I said, you know what? I need to sell this car. So I called this Golden Auctions guy. I have his number. And please don't ask me for it because I don't give people's number out. He said, have your husband call me now on my private phone. I don't give my phone to people. He said, Mr. Stone, I don't know if he knew me or not, but he said, Mr. Stone, we didn't know that card existed. He said, I want to put it through my auction immediately. Will you overnight it to me? And I had to insure it, I said, what's it going to go for? He says, I don't know. But he said, there's 2 men in China that they love Aaron Rodgers. And if you can get them in a bidding war, you'll have a good price on the card. Well, can I tell you what it felt like? It felt like a kid at Christmas.
Yeah, you don't know.
No, I'm like, oh, this is going to be fun. And I'm telling you what, I needed the stress relief, okay? Can I just be honest with you? I needed stress relief.
So did you watch it being auctioned?
Here's what I did. So every day I'd go to it. $1,000. It's worth more than that.
Yeah.
Pam, it's worth more than that. She said, well, give it time. Good gracious. Then it went to 4. Then it went to 8. Then it went to 10. And I was happy with that. I said, oh, praise God. She said, well, that'll pay for the house. Now, let me tell you this. Every time we sell a card, we pay tithe to God, always.
10%.
She will never, ever, and I will never, ever not pay tithe. Then the government gets a chunk of it.
Yeah.
Let's just face it. I'm not like Trump and these other people that have so much going on that they can deduct. They have expenses. We don't have the benefit a lot of times.
I know some people that pay the tithe 10% on after taxes.
Oh, I pay when the check comes. I pay when the check. That's just us. And I say, give tithes is a better. I don't want to act like we're paying God or not. Yeah. But we give our tithe because God's been good to us. Mm-hmm. That's why we do it. And we want the ministry to be blessed and ministries that we work with. All right. The funniest thing happened. It ended at 10,000. And she said, well, baby, you shouldn't complain. I said, Pam, it's a 1 of 1. There was only one made. I can't believe it. And then it said, bang. Extended 30 minutes. I said, why did they just extend this? Bam, 11,000. Bam, 12,000. Bam, 13,000. Bam, I'm screaming in the house running. You won't believe it. It's the 2 Chinese guys. They're in a bidding war. And I knew it because he told me they would.
Yeah.
You know what that card brought?
What?
Now, a $40 box of cards.
A $40 box of...
$26,000.
For the one card?
Yes. No, one card.
Crazy.
It blew my mind. And so I have been telling people that, not just, I'm going to show you 2 cards that I just got recently. But this has become a hobby. I'm not consumed with it. But when I get under stress, I'll go deal with my cards. And it has really helped me to have something to clear my mind. Mm-hmm. And everybody watching me, no matter what age you are, you need something to do. Now, it used to be in the old days, or previously, writing was my stress relief. I'd write book after book after book. I must have been under a lot of stress. I've written 100 books. But I would write book after I love doing it. And it was hard work. It was very tiring, though. It's mentally tiring. Well, this is not mentally tiring. But I want to say to you on your income, in the attics, in the basement, what was the thing that Jonathan did years ago? That was the Pokemon. The Pokemon Japanese card just sold for $1 million.
Golly.
A Mike Trout, who's now playing ball, rookie card signed, sold last year for $3.5 million. Now, we're talking about cards of players right now, okay? Yeah. So I want you to pay attention to things that are in your attic, your basement, your kids' toys that are 40 years old that you kept. You would be stunned at the right place and the right people that would buy those from you. My point is, quit putting everything in a yard sale. Now, if it's something made in China that's a knick-knack, that's fine. If it's old clothes, that's fine. But be careful with your books, your stamps, your old letters, if they're old. Your old letters, your magazines. Some of the magazines, old magazines, are worth a lot. And you can actually make additional income by things that your family has that you have no idea that has value.
And you can look it right up on the internet.
That's the advantage now. You can look up on the internet. Now, let me show you this. This has been in my possession I lost it, for a long time. And I just found out that, hang on. I know I'm killing time here, but what happened to it? Lord have mercy. Come on. Perry. Petty. Anyway, I just had it and it's disappeared again. Somebody must be hacking my phone. Who knows? No, there it is. Now look at this. Let's zoom in on this. You ever heard of Michael Jordan?
Yep.
Almost all of Michael Jordan's cards have huge value right now. Almost all of them, especially his rookie cards. This is a star rookie. It is not in great shape. It's off-centered. And the ones that people want are the ones that's graded through the grading companies. And you send them off and pay for them to grade it, fill out the papers and stuff. Oh, now we're getting to it. There it is. Okay, now, that is what's called a Michael Jordan Star Rookie card. Well, there it went. What happened? Okay, you saw what it looked like. All right? That card, they would never grade it because there were too many copies made. Now, one company is grading the Star Rookie card, and they just sold one for $350,000, that card. Now, mine would never sell for that. It's off-center. The corners are tough. If I got $3,000 or $4,000 out of that, that'd be a good price. But my point is, now, the other day, now, I'll get a box every now and then. Yesterday, I went down to Georgia, and if somebody collects cards, they'll call me, but this is going in the auction. I'm not selling this. And the guy said to me, he said, there's a downtown card. He said, that's a case. A guy bought 10 of these. They weren't real expensive and couldn't find the downtown card. It's still here. I said, how many's on the shelf? He said, 8. I said, all right. And now don't laugh at me when I tell you this, or don't think this is stupid. I give a lot of money to poor people. I just gave a ton of money to some missionaries for poor people. And I walk in the shop and I say, Lord, thank you for rewarding me with a card I can sell because I take care of the poor. Thank you for that. And I looked at the guy and said, well, I come in here all the time. He said, man, you're the luckiest man I've ever seen. You pull the best cards of anybody that comes to the shop. I said, I take care of poor people around me. I said, I take care of poor people. God blesses me because and he's going to watch him bless me. And I said, what box it's in? And I heard something say, get the last box against the wall. Okay, last box against the wall. I said, it's in there. He said, how do you know? I said, I help poor people. What'd I tell you? I pulled the Mahomes downtown that's selling for $1,000 right now out of a $40 box of cards. Now, how does that happen? Can you see that? Now, someone said, that's ridiculous. I don't care if they buy it. That's their business. See, it ain't my money.
Yeah.
Right? So if they want to pay it.
What's that under?
That's in plastic. Now, then my wife ordered me some, I have a birthday. She always ordered me. She ordered me this one box, and it was basketball. And I knew before I opened it, I said, here's the card that's going to be in there. Don't ask me how this happens. I don't explain it. I just think it's fun. Me and the Lord have fun together. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Life is not boring to carry stuff. Yeah. This is Luka Doncic is how they pronounce his name. And this is a patch autograph, okay? And I think, no, it's not. Yeah, it is numbered to 49. Now look at this card, because I want to teach you something about this. This is my hobby. Bear with me for sharing my hobby with you. Okay, last night, his rookie card that looks similar, this is not the same card. His rookie card went for about $60,000. The rookie's like, what, a year or two ago? Yeah. Now think about it. So they go and buy these boxes, and I'm not telling anybody to go buy boxes because it might work and might not work. Yeah. Some of these are higher dollar boxes, but I don't know what this one would go for. So my wife and I have put everything, and I'm making my point here, we put everything back in the ministry for 46 years. And I have never begrudged the Lord one penny of that, because I've always said I would prefer my reward to be in heaven. However, I have a third grandbaby coming. My wife cooks for them every day. She cooks for the whole family when they're home. So we're paying for our grandbabies, to eat, and my family to eat. Nothing wrong with that. That's what Mama wants to do. We do a lot of charity work. We do a lot of giving to people, and I'm not bragging. I'm telling you, God sees that. So this is my hobby. If you're fishing and you're out fishing and that's your hobby, and you've blessing people, blessed the ministry, just like Peter, what did God do for him? He let him catch the biggest catch he ever caught in his life. He was a fisherman in a fishing business. When Jesus needed taxes paid, what did he do? He sent Peter fishing, and he said, look for the first fish. It's going to have man, you don't want me to talk business with Jesus. You don't want me to get into the business ministry of Jesus.
He had money in the fish's mouth, right?
There was money in the fish's mouth. So if you are a construction man, and you treat people good, you try to do the right thing, God will bless you in something you like, something you enjoy doing. You say, well, I'd like to have a piece of property on the farm. You know what will happen? I'll guarantee you, you do the right thing, you obey the Lord, He blesses. What does it say in the Bible? I'll bless the works of your hands. He does not want his people walking around, oh, the other one will do. And
He blessed
sad.
Job, didn't he?
Oh my goodness, he was the wealthiest man in the East. Abraham was, Job was,
David, Solomon.
yeah, all these men, and God.
Perry Stone.
Yeah, God. I'll say God has blessed me. I am not ashamed of it. And but we work. We are not lazy. Charlie, are we lazy people? Not at all. We work overtime. We work hard. We travel. I stay up late doing things. You know, it takes some. Writing 100 books and.
If you want residential or commercial plumbing, give Rick's Plumbing a call. Call Jason or Josh. They'll do you a good job. I've used them for years. They're no problem.
Come on, woo!
You ever wake up in the morning not sure where you're at, if you're at a hotel or
Yeah,
at the house?
I've been in a hotel, woke up and had no clue where I was,
Yeah.
and it's kind of a weird
Yeah.
feeling. You
Where
ever
am
done
I at?
that?
Oh, yeah.
And it's just because we
I
travel
woke up
so
this
much.
morning, I couldn't think of what day it was. And it dawned on me, Perry Stone's coming. It really did.
How could you forget that? How could you forget that? So going back to what I'm going to say, for those of you who watch that are believers and Christians, I believe this about the Lord. I believe this based on, the many, many years of studying the Bible. I work for a heavenly reward, as most ministers do. I want most of what I want to get with Him telling me well done, and whatever reward He gives me in heaven for the work I've done. I want that. I don't want to get everything here. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But I do believe, based on the Scripture, that Jesus said, in this life, you can receive houses, lands, brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers. How can you do that? Because I have many partners of the ministry. My wife and I can get in a car and start driving, and we could stay 15 minutes at some exit or some road by people we know that are friends of ours. Mm-hmm. All the way to Alabama, all the way to Mississippi, all the way to Georgia. And I'm not talking, if there's no town there, of course there's nobody there. But I'm saying every so many towns, we have friends. That's how I have brothers, sisters, mothers, and fathers. I got people that's like my second mama all over the world. They're 70, 80 years of age. But they grew up, they watched me as a teenager preach. And some of them are still living. They're like mama to me. And boy, you better not talk about Perry Stone in front of them, because mama slap you silly.
Your ministry goes all over the United States. Like
all over
way
all over the world.
The
Yeah, it had. See, we've been on television for 22 years. But I have never seen, though, I want to say all the glory goes to the Lord. He blesses hard work. He wants you to do His assignment. And if you're faithful and obedient to Him, now this is an Old Testament scripture, but it says you will eat the good of the land. And what I think that means is I'll bless you with whatever you do. And I want to say this, despite the very subtle, sly attacks of the enemy, even things I've gone through, even physical things, we have stood steadfast. Charlie and I, our teams have endured and stood steadfast. We've continued to keep. Joni Lamb, Marcus Lamb's wife, said, keep your eyes on the prize, keep your eyes on the souls, keep your eyes on the heavenly reward. Don't let nobody distract you from it. And that was a good word for me. Mm. Don't worry about all the clutter, the cloud, the drama, maybe we could call it. Don't even worry about it. Don't think about it. Keep your eyes on the Lord. And what He will do in your latter years, when you need something, just ask Him to show you, is there anything I can do to make income? You may actually get a part-time job working at home where that will help you with income. Because I really feel, I'm saying this very sincerely, I do feel for people. I've always had compassion, because we were from a family that my mom and dad had to work to pay the bills for us kids to have anything. And I can remember in the ministry, man, when my offerings for 5 days was $20. Didn't even fill up the gas in the car. So I know what it's like. I know what it's like to do without. I know what it's like to lack. I know what it's like to spend more getting to the revival and back just in fuel than what you can pay. My wife and I went years ago, thought we were going to have to borrow money to the bank to make the house payment. See, people don't remember those days with my wife and I, unless they were like Charlie and been with us from the beginning.
You miss those days in a sense.
I told my wife I miss the simplicity sometimes of just of not having cares, not having the pressure of just.
What would they be now?
What do you mean
that
now?
you didn't have then?
Well, for example, and God is responsible for it, but I have the responsibility of how many workers do we have at VOE? 20? Probably. Well, I'm responsible, and I say I am. It's God that's responsible, I understand. But I feel the weight of taking care of these people, their salaries, making sure they're paid, making sure they're okay. We have great insurance, don't we? We have great insurance to the ministry. We take care of all their insurance. But I feel that responsibility of that. Now, when it was me and Pam, I had none of that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There was no. The building upkeep. Oh, is there always building upkeep? Charlie laughs because it's every day. Cut the grass, got a leak here, because we have a lot of buildings. Okay, that's cares of ministry. Paul talked about the cares of ministry. See, years ago, we didn't have the buildings. Now, would I go back to that? No. I like it is now, even though it's more responsibility, it's more of a burden, and it's more of a weight. And here's why. We weren't reaching the number of people back then that we're reaching now.
But if you wanted to go back,
people are getting saved all the time now.
If you just based it on lifestyle, you'd rather go back to that way.
Simplicity, just really, really simplicity. Simplicity was fun. We'd go out to eat every night after church. We'd stay up late and have prayer. Charlie we'd pray till 3:30 in the morning sometimes. Let's go to church and pray. You didn't have the cares. You didn't have we'd get into prayer, and nowadays when you have cares of ministry, you still pray. We still have the prayer. We still have the prayer meetings on Thursday and all that. Still pray in the meetings. But while you're praying, oh my goodness, we didn't pay that bill. Oh my goodness, we got to call this one about that. That can distract you. But I would not want to go back and have to do all that again because of where we're at now. We want to reach people. We're here now. We want to go out that way more instead. Let's drop back down here and start here all over again. I'm too old to do. And that's why we didn't build the museum. That's why we're doing it at the Lowry building, because I told Pam, I says, I don't want to get into another building. We could do it, but no.
Do you think this is what God's put you doing rather than, in other words, you don't want to manage all this stuff, but you have it. But it's not because you want to.
Well, I have good workers. Let me say this. You feel
an obligation to keep doing this.
I feel an obligation to make sure they're taken care of. That's my biggest obligation. And then the obligation of always, you got to have the word. The Lord gives you something. You've got to preach it. We do YouTubes. We do Manifest. I'm writing books. I'm doing a magazine. I still want to do that because that's how people are getting touched. So my motivation, and God knows me and God knows my heart, and I'll answer for him of judgment. I have never been motivated by income or money. Everybody will tell you that is not an area. I've never been tempted with money. I've never been tested with money.
You don't spend a lot of money, do you?
No, I'm happy. I've got a nice vehicle.
You drove up in a regular car.
No, but it's a little bit more than regular. But it's nice. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it's nice.
Well, I looked at it. It didn't strike me. It wasn't like a Lamborghini.
No. But I'm
just
saying,
a nice new car.
I got a nice car, a nice home, beautiful family, clothes to wear,
nice hair.
And thank you for that. It's T.L. Lowry coming out of me. And we can eat. We have food to eat. Yeah. I'm happy. We were talking the other day. 3 people have given me dreams that somebody blesses the ministry, and I'm not going to tell the amount because they'd have it out that it happened. The rumor would be wrong. It hadn't happened, and it's such a substantial amount. And Pam dreamed the other day. She saw the old man from Florida that gave it to us. And he was giving us some other things, and she was totally blown away. And it's the same amount that those 2 men called us about that they said they saw in a dream. Same amount. And she said, what would you do with that? And I said, can I be honest with you? I said, if God blessed us, and I know this is going out on the internet, and I don't mind because I'm a very open person. I said, there's only a few things I'd be interested in. I said, number one, I would love to have a place on the beach that we could take the grandbabies to on vacation, and my staff could have. Like, you guys could go down there for vacation. Charlie said, oh, yes, I feel it. No, I would like to have that. Now, this is just things.
Yeah.
I don't need another vehicle. I don't need a boat. Charlie needs a boat, but I don't need a boat. Charlie needs a boat motor. I don't need a boat, okay? I don't need things. I've got a King airplane that we're going to upgrade because of some property we sold. We're going to be able to upgrade. But let me just say this. But what I would do, and God knows my heart, test me with it, Lord, if you want. I would go to the Appalachian Mountains to those, and I'm going to cry here because this really messes with me. My family was very poor from the mountains. My dad's family was. Those towns are in pitiful shape. There's no work, there's no jobs, there's kids on the street. But I'd go buy a ton of those empty buildings, nice buildings that are empty, and I'd get me a crew in there and remodel those things, and I would turn them into centers for the poor, places for people to sleep, places for people to eat, and then find a ministry in that area, or either get somebody up there that has a burden to run them. And I'd build about 10 of those all through the mountains. And God knows, if I had it, because we were talking the other day, so what I'm saying to you is money don't motivate me. What motivates me is the assignment.
And I think
that's what I'm motivated. I'm motivated by what God has told me to do. And when I can do it and get it done, that's my motivation. And that's the truth. And God knows that's the truth. But if I had that income, there would be a lot of things we could do. You know, there's things we do now, don't get me wrong, but I mean, it would be nice to be able to say, get me those 10 buildings in that city, that city, that city. Get me a contractor up there. Let's go, and just do something like so cool, so super nice, and then put people, feeding people all the time, food trucks,
true ministry.
I would love to do that. And I think the Lord, I might be off the wall right here. It may just be a dream. One of these days, God's going to help me do that. I don't know how. But it would take supernatural income. That's what I'm saying. But there again, it wouldn't be for me. Because my wife and I talked about this yesterday. Because she said, we're blessed and we don't need, because I don't need stuff. I don't need things. Does that make sense? Things don't mean nothing. Now, this is my hobby. I just like doing this. It's a stress relief for me.
And that's really not, it's just shifting money around.
No,
it's
this,
just
I mean, you get a little box.
It's literally a hobby.
You buy one box of card, it costs this, and you get something that's worth 20, 50 times more.
Easter egg hunt.
It's like an investment almost, you know. But I really do hope that in the time I have left, whatever time that may be, that the Lord will help me to do some of the things that I believe, that I believe He's put in my heart. One of the things is that we're going to go out west and we're going to book some convention centers and do some meetings. And we have a team that's going to go with us, the Lord willing, a very well-known team that's going to go with us to do auditorium meetings. I would like to expand the television program into more nations. We're all over the world.
Do you have to have a publicist of some sort, or
no.
how do you get these? How do you get the dates?
Honestly, can I tell you? You talking about for the
to
television?
To go out west. I mean, how do you?
Oh no. Sometimes we'll get an invitation. Other times we'll just book a place. We booked Sandy, Utah, a few years ago, and that's they're all Mormon there, and they're very nice people, by the way. We met the nicest people.
They believe in God, right?
Oh yeah,
just a different view.
Yeah, and they believe in the Book of Mormon, which that's controversial, but very very nice people. All of them were that we met, and I said, how many people do they normally have an event here? And they just had a well-known guy come in, and he drew about 150 people in a little room. And oh my goodness, I've just rented this hall. I got 1,500 chairs out, 2,000 chairs. What am I going to do? Yeah. And then when we started the meeting, we ended up having 2,500 people. They came from everywhere. I couldn't believe it.
150 people for you would be a Wednesday night church service, wouldn't it?
Well, and I do. Listen, lately, I have. The Lord has asked me. He said, I want you to go back to smaller churches because I want them to see how much I love them. And I want you to go. And man, when you go, they're so honored. And there's some people just,
that sort of takes back to what
they just start crying. Oh, brother, thank you for coming. I think, look, man, I want to be here. I'm not here because I have nowhere to go. I wanted to come here. And they are those like the rural churches, they are so appreciative of when you come because they say, we never thought somebody like you would come. Well, I said, I'm a hillbilly. I was born in the mountains.
And you feel God told you to go to some of the smaller churches?
Oh, absolutely. And I have lately. I just go. I mean, we preached at a church. Now, this may not be small, but we preached at a church the other day, a couple of services where I guess we would have at night 80 to 100 people, which, a lot of the churches I go to are like the mega churches. But I just feel like the Lord wants me to. I like preaching to them because they're so receptive. Those little churches are like little baby birds with their mouth
like
open.
A sponge.
Oh my goodness, it's unbelievable. So, and the other thing that most people don't know about me, unless they're a pastor, is I never ask for an amount of money when I come. I never ask for, you have to give me, I've never done that and never will. I never do. Whatever offering is received is what's received. And that's it. And I'm grateful for anything.
You don't need that either, do you, really?
No. If God wants me to just go, and I've actually gone places and gave the offering back to the church. I said, I think you did this worse than I do. You all take it, keep it.
That'd be an insult.
I flew my own plane to Mexico, to New Mexico, and it was you were with me to a Navajo camp meeting, and the Lord spoke to me and He said, don't get any kind of a fuel reimbursement from the camp meeting. You pay for it all. And that's usually what we do. We'll pay for the pilot, but sometimes a place will give us a fuel reimbursement. And the guy couldn't believe it. He said, "Man, I had somebody here one time, and they started sending me bills." I said, "That's not the Lord."
I bet the more when you preach to the Mormons, I bet you could get in the real discussions about divorce and remarriage.
Well,
I mean, you'd never be able to unscramble all that.
Well, here's what I do though. I try to stay away from. I let pastors deal with those issues.
Because who would you be married to if you?
Yeah, no, they have a belief of some things, but I don't ever go into an area if I know, and what I'm there to do is help them understand the Lord, relationship with the Lord, the power of the Holy Spirit. I stay in my lane. Does that make sense? Stay in your lane.
Yeah, but at some point they've got to have questions. What do we do here, preacher?
Well, if they ask questions, I'll engage them. But we had a friend years ago. We used to love watching him on TV. But he'd get up and he'd blast people on his program, and he'd call them, "They're all going to hell if they don't." And it's like, man, you don't have to do that. They got some good people in those places. Just preach the gospel. So I don't ever go in there, both guns. I'm going to tell them. I'm going to teach them. Never have done that. Never will. I don't think the Lord's pleased with that. He wants you to go in and preach what He tells you to do. And sometimes it can be a little controversial. And sometimes it can be tough. But preach what He tells you to, and love the people, and the people appreciate that, and they can feel it. They can feel how much you really care about them. You can't fake people out. You can get up there, "I love you." "Yeah, right, okay." And you stab me in the back. Don't give me that. I would rather for a man to walk up to me, and this will probably happen, but I'd rather for a man to walk up to me and say, "I just wanted you to know I don't like you, and I've never liked you." And I'll say, "Brother, give me your hand." I say, "Thank you so much. I appreciate
your honesty.
I appreciate an honest man. But don't tell me, "Oh, Brother Perry, we love you, we're praying for you," and then you talk about me behind my back and stick a knife in it. Don't do that. That's so hypocritical. Sinner people don't appreciate that. Sinner folks want you to be real,
Speaking of real, I've done 105 or so podcasts. Everybody that comes on here, they're not a Perry Stone Bible teacher, but they're all religious in their own right.
Yeah.
They're all good people.
Yeah.
If they weren't, I wouldn't have them on here.
Right.
And I would like for you to encourage any of your people that are watching to subscribe to my channel, because I may not have a preacher, but I may have a Cherokee Indian lady that believes in God still.
Well, she has a story
because
to tell.
all these discussions get into talking about God.
Yeah.
It just levitates there.
Yeah. Well, they can always do that. We have a YouTube channel, Perry Stone YouTube. We have about, how many? 750,000 subscribers.
Well, see, I don't have that many, and I need them over here.
Well, but the thing is, though, you're more local, but you have a good group of people.
Oh, I have a lot. Yeah,
it's amazing.
It really is.
Yeah, it's amazing. But people, it's very easy to do. You just hit the subscribe and the bell, right?
That's it.
What that does, puts you in an algorithm, but it also has a little click when you come on, so they'll know. They don't have to go looking you up. That's the advantage of that. It really is. But I want to say this to you. We've been on, 4 times now, maybe? Is that about right? 4
3
times?
or 4.
And I appreciate you because you always have good questions, first of all. And, there are people that see us, and it gives me a little opportunity just to kind of be myself in my hometown. If that makes sense. Yeah. And just sharing, like most people, this has not made the paper yet about the museum coming, because we don't want to release that till it's ready. But now people know this is going to be an exciting place to take your kids, your school kids. It's video screens in there. I mean, it's going to be it's not going to be cheesy. It's going to be a nice professional place with signs, and it'll probably take you a good hour to go through it, maybe an hour, 2 hours.
And there'll be things to learn about the Bible too,
Totally.
right?
Oh yeah. And we're going to show you the history of the empires. We'll have
Yeah.
a prophecy section at the end. And it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of work. But we had a lady, and I want to give God glory for this, that had some property, and she sold it, and she told us to put the property on the museum. And that was a huge, wasn't it? And I think Robin Bullock, the YouTube guy, minister, contacted us too. So we've had some people that's given us enough to get really, help us designated, I should say, to get the building ready.
If you weren't in the ministry, your mind is such that you would have such a creative mind. You'd be doing a lot of things. Maybe a
Brother Larry told me one time, we were talking, and I was just going all over the board, and giving him ideas. And Brother Larry, he said, Perry, you know that voice.
Yeah.
He said, Perry, listen, man. He said, I believe that if you were a preacher, you'd be the head of a Fortune 500 company. I said, well, that's a compliment coming from you. But to do what we do, you have to know government rules, IRS rules, nonprofit rules. It is not, the resources, the television program, the YouTube channel, all the things that we do, you have to have a business mind. And we have a professional company that does all of our taxes. So people will know we asked for this. The board didn't ask for it. Nobody asked for it. I went to my board and said, I want an audit. I want an audit to prove to people where my money goes. And so we have an independent company coming in, and it's going to cost us a good bit. And they're going through every book and everything that we've ever done, And I've had some, be careful here, but I've had some people working in the past that I'm a little curious about some things they did too, and they'll find that out. So
it'll probably be minor, if anything.
Oh yeah,
everybody has some of that.
Yeah, but we're gonna do that because we want everybody to know who stands with us, who supports us, that what we do, what we say, we use what they give us for the work of God, and that's a good thing to do. So we wanted that done. So it's going on right now up into the probably into next year, making every detail. And I tell you what, we kept perfect book. We've kept books.
Boy.
We've kept books, brother. We've kept receipts. We've got everybody's giving information. That's one area that years ago we determined we were going to absolutely make sure that we did the right thing with that.
Even doing your best at that, it's so hard to keep up with everything. I keep up with building somebody's house, and I try to keep everything exactly right. And you could go back over it again and say, "Oh, shoot."
No, you're dealing with stuff that's you have very minute things. You've got nails and screws and boards and lights.
They'll call something.
Oh, it's unreal.
They'll call.
We've built, so we know what you have.
They'll
to
call
go.
the location on North Lee Highway instead of giving the address. They'll say North or Lee. So you have to go through it. It can get mixed up by accident.
Well, we've had 3 ministries that we've directed in the past, and so I mean we had to have like 3 different bookkeepers and different things like that. And it is something to keep up with. But one thing about my wife, she's one of the godliest women I've ever known in my life. She's one of the most pure-hearted women I've ever met in my life, and she's just a great mother, grandmother, and wife. But she is very much keeps up and makes sure everything is detailed. Everything, even like this kind of stuff, already.
Yeah.
She gets the documentation. I've already paid tithe on the money and hadn't even got here yet. The check didn't got here from that sale yesterday. I've already paid my tithe on it. She says, "Have you paid your tithe?" She says, "Should I pay it coming up?" I said, "I got it covered." She's the queen of making sure the tithe goes to the house of God. That's how we've been blessed, I believe. So having someone like that who is very protective but is very precise. Boom, A, B, C, D, brother. That's a great blessing. Do you know this? No one can believe this when I say it, but it's true. I have never seen a personal check of mine of how much I make. Susan gives it right to Pam. Pam deposits it or writes it out, and she gives me $500. No, it went up. She gives me $800 a month for my check. That's what she gives me. The other day I walked in, there's my little envelope. Because she pays the bills.
Yeah. You got to have a little allowance.
I do not have a checkbook I use. She has the checkbooks, ministry checkbook. Susan takes care of that, some of the girls there. And she writes all the bills. She goes through all the credit card information. And that's what I'm saying. And I told the Lord, I'm going to have to go to heaven first if either one of us do, because ain't no way I could make it without that woman. There's really no way. I'd be like,
he knows that. He gave her to you.
Yeah, and she had a serious case of COVID, and God really touched her a while back. So I told her, I told the Lord, I said, not going to make it without her. She's got to be in my life. We got to be two old people sitting outside watching our grandbabies play in the pool. That's how we look at it.
Do we have to trust God in all things?
You better believe it. Yeah. Whatsoever's not of faith is sin. You have to literally, consistently. I'm not just talking finances here now. We're talking spiritual, your health, your protection for your family. It's total trust. Sometimes things will happen you don't understand, but you still trust them. You got it. Thank you, buddy. God bless you.